Charlotte Whitmore threw the glass. Not dropped through. It exploded against the marble, and 300 of America's richest people flinched at once. She was already moving. Straight through them, heels cracking stone like rifle fire. A senator stepped back. A photographer's flash went white. She caught the man at the back door by the wrist hard and yanked him around. "Stop watching the bride," she said. "Eyes on me." Commander Logan Carter looked down at her hand on him. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "you own the company that owns me. Let go." She didn't, because she'd just learned something about his daughter that he didn't know yet, and in 60 seconds it would burn her empire to the ground. Stay to the end. Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels tonight. And if this one hits you, subscribe. This channel was built for you. Logan Carter had every intention of leaving before the cake. He'd been in that ballroom exactly 41 minutes, and he'd counted every one of them. He knew where the exits were. He knew which server was circling with the shrimp. He knew that the man in the gray suit near the bar had checked his watch 4 times, which meant he wanted to leave too, but didn't have the courage. Logan had the courage. He just didn't have a good enough excuse yet. He'd come for Ryan. That was the whole reason. 22 years of friendship, 2 deployments, 1 night in the Gulf when Ryan had held pressure on a wound in Logan's shoulder for 9 hours and never once let his hands shake. When a man does that, you go to his wedding. You put on the navy blue suit that used to fit and doesn't anymore, and you stand in the back and you clap when everyone else claps, and then you go home to your kid. That was the plan. "You're doing the thing again," Ryan said, appearing at his elbow with 2 glasses of something amber. "What thing?" "The doorway thing. You're standing in a doorway. You've been standing in a doorway your entire life, Carter." "I like doorways." "You like escape routes." Ryan pushed a glass into his hand. "Drink that. It's my wedding. You're legally required." "I'm driving." "You're driving in 4 hours." "I'm driving in 90 minutes. Ryan's grin flattened out a little. "Logan, Emma's got the sitter until 8:30. Mrs. Petrov's got her granddaughter's recital. I told her I'd be back. Emma is 7. Emma will survive 1 night without her father tucking her in." Logan looked at him for a second too long. Ryan raised both hands. Okay. I take it back. That was a stupid thing to say." "It wasn't stupid. You're right." "I'm not right. I'm a man who's had 3 drinks and got married 90 minutes ago, and I'm not right about anything." Ryan clapped a hand on his shoulder, the bad one, the one with the scar, and Ryan knew exactly which one it was. He'd always known, and he squeezed it anyway, because that was the joke between them. "Just stay for the toasts. That's all I'm asking. Stay for the toasts, and then run for the hills like the coward you are." "Deal." "Say it like you mean it." "Deal, sir." Ryan laughed and disappeared back into the crowd, back into his own happiness, and Logan watched him go, and felt something in his chest that he didn't have a name for. Not envy. He'd have known envy. Envy was hot. This was cold. This was the feeling of standing on a shore watching a ship you used to be on. He found the back wall and stayed there. It was an estate wedding, the real kind, the kind with a name on the gate and a history on a plaque out past the vineyards where the money lived. Logan had never been anywhere like it. He'd been to 14 countries and slept in a hole in the ground in 3 of them, and he had never in his life been in a room where the napkins looked expensive. He was doing arithmetic in his head. That was his habit when he was uncomfortable. 91 minutes to get home if traffic held. Emma had a spelling test Monday. She'd asked him to quiz her on Tuesday words, which was her own system. She divided words by which day she'd learned them, and no amount of explaining that the teacher didn't do it that way had ever moved her. Necessary was a Tuesday word. She always missed it. 2 C's or 2 S's, she could never remember which. 2 S's, M, 1 C. Necessary. You're not eating. Logan didn't turn. A server had been trying to feed him for 20 minutes. "I'm good, thanks." That wasn't an offer of food. It was an observation. The voice was wrong for a server. Too level. It had the specific flatness of a person who has never in their life needed to raise their volume to be obeyed. He turned. The woman standing next to him was maybe 40 in a dress the color of gunmetal, holding a glass she clearly had no intention of drinking. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking out at the room the same direction he'd been looking, with an expression he recognized instantly, because he'd seen it in a mirror for 6 years. Bored. Not with the party, with the whole thing. "You've been standing here for 40 minutes, she said. 41. That got him a glance, just a flick of the eyes. "You're counting." "I count things." "So do I." She turned back to the room. 11 people have looked at me and pretended they weren't looking at me. 6 have tried to work out an approach and lost their nerve. 2 have sent someone else to check whether I'd be receptive. 1 is still trying to decide whether he's important enough. The gray suit by the bar. She went very still. Then slowly she turned her head and looked at him properly for the first time. "Say that again." "Gray suit, by the bar. He's checked his watch 4 times, but he hasn't left, which means he's not waiting on anything, he's just working up to something. And he keeps adjusting his cuffs. Guys adjust their cuffs when they're about to walk into a room they don't feel like they belong in." Logan shrugged. "He's been walking into this room in his head for an hour. He just hasn't got his feet to agree yet." The woman stared at him. "What's your name?" she said. "Logan." "Logan what? Does it matter?" "It always matters." "Then Logan Carter." She held out her hand, not the way women at these things held out their hands, soft angled, waiting to be taken gently. She held it out straight, like a challenge. He shook it. Firm. She had a grip. "Charlotte," she said. "Charlotte what?" The corner of her mouth moved. It wasn't quite a smile. It was the ghost of one, the way a smile looks when it's been in storage a long time. "Does it matter?" she said. "Guess not." And that Charlotte Whitmore would think later, replaying it at 3 in the morning for weeks afterward, that was the moment. Not the wrist, not the ballroom, not any of what came after. That was the moment. Because in 20 years, no one had ever answered Charlotte, what with guess not. "You're not enjoying this," she said. "I'm enjoying it fine. You've been standing against a wall with your arms crossed for the better part of an hour, watching the front of the room like you're waiting for someone to draw a weapon." Logan uncrossed his arms. "That wasn't a criticism," Charlotte said. "Felt like one. Most things do, apparently. I'm told I have a delivery problem." She turned the untouched glass slowly in her fingers. "I don't. People have a listening problem, but it's easier to fix me than fix 300 people. Logan almost laughed. It surprised him the sound came out of him before he'd approved it. "What?" she said. "Nothing." "No, you did a thing. You made a sound. What was it?" He shook his head. "My daughter says that, almost word for word. Her teacher tells her she's got an attitude, and she comes home and says, 'I don't have an attitude. Daddy, Mrs. Hollis has a hearing problem.'" Charlotte was quiet for a second. "How old?" 7. "Then Mrs. Hollis probably does have a hearing problem." And this time, Logan did laugh quietly into his chest, and he didn't take it back. Ha! The band shifted into something slower. Out on the floor, Ryan was dancing with his wife badly, one hand in the small of her back and the other holding a beer, and she was laughing so hard she'd stopped moving her feet, and Logan watched them and felt the cold thing in his chest again. Charlotte watched him watch them. "You're doing it again?" she said. "Doing what?" "Whatever it is you do with your face when you look at them." "I don't do anything with my face." "You do. You go somewhere." She tilted her head. "Everyone else in this room is looking at that couple and thinking about the couple. You're looking at that couple and thinking about something else entirely." "What is it?" Logan didn't answer. "I'm not going to ask twice," Charlotte said. "I don't ask twice. It's a rule." "That's a stupid rule." "It's an excellent rule. It's saved me approximately 9,000 hours. It's stupid because sometimes people need the second ask." He kept his eyes on the dance floor. Sometimes the first one's just to see if you meant it. Charlotte didn't move. The band played. Ryan dipped his wife and nearly dropped her, and the whole room made a noise. "What is it?" Charlotte said again. Logan let out a breath. "I got married in a room about a third this size," he said. "Rented hall. My CO gave the toast. We had 11 people. Her side had 6, my side had 5, and 2 of my 5 were guys I'd met in basic, who I'm not sure even liked me. They just liked cake." He shook his head slowly. I stood right about where he's standing. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is the last first day of my life. Everything from here is just the same good thing over and over. And I was wrong. How wrong? She left on a Thursday. He said it flat. Not cold, just flat, the way men say a thing they've already bled out over. I was deployed. She left on a Thursday, and Emma was 4, and she left a note on the counter, and she took the car, and she never... He stopped. Recalibrated. Emma still asks. 3 years. She still asks when mommy's coming home. And I've never figured out what to say because the true answer is never, and you can't hand a 7-year-old never. It's too big. It won't fit in their hands. He stopped talking. He hadn't meant to say any of that. He'd never said any of that. He'd said pieces of it to Ryan, and pieces of it to a Navy chaplain, and one time badly to a woman at a grocery store who'd asked an innocent question about the cereal aisle, and he'd said none of it to anyone in the last 2 years. And he'd just handed it whole to a stranger in a gray dress. "That's why you're watching The Bride," Charlotte said. "I'm not watching The Bride." "Then what are you watching?" "I'm watching a guy believe something," Logan said. "And I'm trying to remember what that felt like." Charlotte Whitmore had over 22 years in business, developed a very specific radar. She could smell a pitch through a wall. She could tell within 9 seconds of a handshake whether a man wanted her signature, her money, her name on a masthead, or her body. And in her experience, it was almost always a combination, and the ones who claimed otherwise were the fastest liars in the room. She'd been to 400 events like this one. She'd built a whole personality out of the walk from the door to the car. And this man had told her about his ex-wife leaving on a Thursday without not once angling for anything. He hadn't asked what she did. He hadn't asked her last name after she deflected. He hadn't done the thing where they say you look familiar and wait for you to fill in the blank. He'd asked her nothing. He'd offered her a hard truth and then gone quiet and let it sit there between them like a stone he'd dropped by accident. "Do you know who I am?" Charlotte said. Logan looked at her. "Should I?" "Most people do." "Okay." "That's it. Okay. You want me to guess?" He almost smiled. "Ma'am, I've got a mortgage, a 7-year-old, and a truck with 190,000 miles on it. Whoever you are, I'm gonna guess wrong, and then we'll both feel bad." Charlotte looked away. She looked away because, and she would deny this to her grave, her eyes had done something she hadn't authorized. "You should sit down," she said. "I should go home. Sit down for the toasts. Your friend asked you to." Logan turned. "How do you know that?" "Because I watched him ask you," Charlotte said. "And I watched you say yes with your mouth and no with your entire body. And I've spent my whole life around men who do that, so I know what it looks like. And Mr. Carter..." She set her untouched glass down on the ledge behind her. "You are the only person in this room I have any interest in talking to, so sit down." He sat down. He'd tell himself later it was because of Ryan, because of the toasts, because he'd made a deal. That wasn't why. The table was near the back, half-empty, 3 seats between them and anybody else. Charlotte sat like she was in a boardroom, spine straight, hands still. Everything about her arranged. Logan sat like a man who'd been ordered to sit and hadn't decided how he felt about it. "Tell me about her," Charlotte said. "Who?" "Your daughter." Logan blinked. "That's you want to hear about my kid." "I asked, didn't I?" "People don't ask about my kid. People are idiots." He laughed again, twice in one night. That was a record going back some ways. "Her name's Emma," he said. I know, you said. Right. He rubbed the back of his neck. She's okay, so. She collects things. That's the first thing you need to know about her. Not like normal kid collecting. Not rocks or stickers or whatever. She collects moments. Explain that. She's got a shoebox under her bed, blue lid, and every time something happens that she decides is important, she writes it down on a scrap of paper and puts it in the box. Just one line. Daddy burned the pancakes, and we ate them anyway. It rained, and we didn't go inside. Mrs. Petrov let me stir. He shook his head. She's got about 400 of them in there. She counts them. She knows the number. Charlotte had gone very still again. She's been doing it since she was 5, Logan said. I found the box when I was cleaning. I read maybe 6 of them, and then I stopped because I realized... He stopped himself. Realized what? Nothing. Carter. I realized about a third of them had me in them, he said quietly. And I'm deployed half the year. So a third of everything my daughter thinks is important in her whole life happens in the half where I'm actually there, which means... He didn't finish it. He didn't need to. Charlotte finished it in her own head, and something happened to her that hadn't happened in a very long time. She drew me a rank insignia once, Logan said, changing the subject the way men do. For my birthday. Made it out of construction paper and about 9 pounds of glitter. Wrong branch, wrong everything. She gave me like 6 stripes I didn't earn. Told me she'd promoted me. He was smiling now properly without noticing. I've still got it. It's in my bag. It goes everywhere I go. Every deployment. It's been in the Gulf. It's been in the Med. It's been places I can't tell you about. 6 paper stripes. You carry it. I carry it. Charlotte said nothing. Sorry, Logan said. You asked and I don't get to talk about her. That's the thing. Guys on the boat, they've got wives, they've got someone to call. I call an 8-year-old babysitter's grandmother. So when somebody actually asks... He shook his head. Sorry. Stop apologizing. Yes, ma'am. And stop calling me ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Charlotte turned her head and looked at him, and he saw for one clean second the entire architecture of her face come apart and go back together. You're not what I expected, she said. You didn't expect anything. You didn't know I existed 20 minutes ago. 41? Charlotte said. I've been watching you for 41 minutes. The toasts started at 7:04. Logan knew because he checked. 8:30 was the number. 91 minutes to get home. It was going to be tight, and it was going to be tighter every minute he sat there, and he did not get up. The best man was terrible. Rambling, sentimental 3 minutes over. The maid of honor was worse. Somebody's uncle told a story that didn't have an ending, and then Ryan stood up, and he didn't have notes, and he looked out across the room and found Logan at the back table like he'd known exactly where he was the whole time. I want to say something that's not about my wife, Ryan said. Sorry, honey. The room laughed. There's a man in this room, Ryan said, who kept me alive. The laughing stopped. Some of you know I served. Most of you know it the way you know a fact like it's on my resume. It's not on my resume. It's on my body. He set his glass down. In 2019, I made a mistake that should have killed 6 people. It killed nobody. It killed nobody because a man I'd known for 11 years made a decision in about 4 seconds that I still don't understand, and I have replayed it every single day since, and I still don't understand it. Logan's jaw had gone hard. He's never told that story, Ryan said. He won't tell it tonight. He'll tell you it wasn't a big deal. He'll tell you anybody would have done it, and he'll be lying, because I've met a lot of anybody, and they didn't. He picked his glass back up. He's sitting at table 19. He's already figured out where the exits are. He's got a 7-year-old at home who thinks he's the strongest man in the world, and I'm here to tell all of you tonight. Ryan's voice cracked. He stopped. He fixed it. She's not wrong, he said. Logan, stand up. Logan didn't stand up. 300 faces turned. Stand up, Carter, or I swear to God I will tell them the rest of it. Logan stood up. The applause hit him like weather. He'd been shot at. He'd been in a helicopter that lost hydraulics over water at night. He'd told a 19-year-old kid's mother something over a phone line that he still heard sometimes at 3 a.m. He had never in his life wanted to be anywhere else as badly as he wanted to be out of that room. He sat down after 4 seconds and stared at the tablecloth, and his ears were roaring, and next to him, Charlotte Whitmore was clapping slowly, deliberately, not looking at the groom at all, looking at him. "You hated that," she said when the noise died. "Yep." "Why?" "Because he made it sound like something." It was something. It was 4 seconds. Logan's voice had gone rough. "You don't get credit for 4 seconds. You get credit for the 20 years of showing up so that when the 4 seconds happen, you don't have to think. The 4 seconds is the easy part. Everybody wants to talk about the 4 seconds." Charlotte set down her hands. "Say that again," she said. "What?" "The last part." Logan looked at her confused. "Everybody wants to talk about the 4 seconds. Before that. You get credit for the 20 years of showing up." Charlotte closed her eyes. For a full second, she closed her eyes, and Logan, who had spent his entire adult life reading rooms, reading men, reading the weather off a face, could not read a single thing on hers. "My father," Charlotte said, "was the most impressive man in every room he ever entered." Okay. He built something from nothing. Actual nothing. He had a high school education and a temper, and he built a company that employs 40,000 people, and he was on the cover of magazines, and when he walked into a room, the room changed temperature. Sounds like a hell of a guy. "He came to one thing," Charlotte said. Logan turned. "One thing. In 18 years. Not a recital, not a graduation, not a—" She stopped and restarted, and her voice did not shake because it never did, because she had built it that way on purpose over decades. "He came to a science fair when I was 11. I won. I remember what I was wearing. I remember he stayed 19 minutes and took a call for 8 of them, and I remember thinking, this is the best day of my life." Logan didn't say anything. 19 minutes, Charlotte said. "And I built an entire empire trying to be worth the 20th. The band started up again somewhere behind them in another world. "He died 4 years ago," she said. "And do you know what I thought about at the funeral? I thought about the 19 minutes. Not the 18 years, the 19 minutes. Because that's how it works, isn't it? He gave me 4 seconds and I gave him my whole life." Logan was very quiet. "So when you say," and here for the first time something in her voice moved, "when you say you get credit for the 20 years of showing up, do you understand that I have never in my life heard a man say that out loud? Not once. Every man I have ever known lives for the 4 seconds. They want the 4 seconds. They engineer their entire existence around being magnificent for 4 seconds and absent for everything else, and then they die and everyone stands up and claps." Her hands had closed. "You're the first person I've ever met who thinks the 4 seconds are the easy part. Because they are." "I know," Charlotte said. "That's what's wrong with me." It was 7:41. Logan knew it was 7:41 the way he'd known everything all night, and he stood up because 8:30 was 8:30, and Mrs. Petrov had a granddaughter with a recital. "I have to go," he said. Charlotte looked up at him. "Sit down." "I can't. I'm sorry. I've got—" "Sit down." And something in Logan Carter, something that had spent 22 years learning to recognize the voice of a person who is used to being obeyed, went absolutely rigid. "No," he said. The word landed on the table like a dropped plate. Charlotte's chin came up. "Excuse me. I said no." He wasn't angry. That was the thing. He said it the way you'd say the weather. "You've been telling me to sit down all night, and I've been sitting down all night, and I've liked it, and I'm not going to lie to you, this is the best conversation I've had in 3 years. But my kid's at home, and there's a woman with her who's got somewhere to be, and I told my daughter I'd be there when she brushes her teeth, and I have missed 406 days of her life to the United States Navy, and I am not missing one more of them for a party." The whole table had gone silent. Charlotte stared at him. 406, she said. "Yes, ma'am." "You know the number." "I know the number." And Charlotte Whitmore, who had fired a man for being 9 minutes late to a board meeting, who had once walked out of a $200 million negotiation because the other side kept saying, "Sweetheart," did not say anything at all. Logan put his hand out. "It was..." He shook his head. "I don't know what it was, but thank you, whoever you are." She took his hand. She held it about a second too long. "Go," she said. He made it 11 steps. He made it 11 steps toward the back door, and then the gray suit from the bar finally found his courage. And he found it in the worst possible place at the worst possible moment. And he found it loudly. "Charlotte." Logan stopped. He didn't mean to. His feet just did it. "Charlotte Whitmore, I knew it was you." And Logan turned around, slowly. And he watched a man in a gray suit take Charlotte's hand in both of his and say the name. Charlotte Whitmore. Whitmore, as in Whitmore Global, as in the logo on the badge in Logan's wallet, as in the name on the building where 6 days a week he did the boring, thankless, uncelebrated work of a man who'd taken a civilian contract to stay stateside so he could put his daughter on the bus. Whitmore, as in his boss's 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 boss. Logan felt the floor go a long way away, and across the room, Charlotte's eyes came up over the gray suit's shoulder and found him, and he watched her see him understand. And he watched her face do something he wouldn't be able to stop thinking about for a very long time. She looked afraid, not of him, not of the room, of the next 4 seconds, because she knew exactly what happens. She'd watched it happen 100 times. The moment the name lands, the man in front of her stops being a man and becomes a transaction. The eyes change. The posture changes. They start calculating. They always start calculating. She watched Logan Carter's face, and she waited for the calculating. It never came. What came instead was worse. His face closed, not with greed, not with hunger, with something Charlotte had never once seen aimed at her in her entire life, and did not have a category for grief. He looked at her like a man who just found out the one good thing that had happened to him in 3 years had never actually happened at all. And then he turned around and walked out. "Charlotte, I've been trying to get to you all night," the gray suit was saying. "Marcus Denhoff, we met at the Aspen thing. I don't know if you remember. Move. I'm sorry. Move." Charlotte Whitmore put her glass down. She missed the ledge. The glass hit the marble and burst, and the sound went through that ballroom like a gunshot, and 300 of the wealthiest people in America turned around at once to see the most controlled woman in the country walking through the middle of them at full speed with her hands empty and her face wrecked. Somebody said her name. She didn't hear it. Somebody's wife stepped out of the way. A photographer's flash went off and it would be on 4 websites by morning, and she did not care. She genuinely did not care, and that in itself was so unfamiliar that some distant clinical part of her brain made a note of it while the rest of her ran. He was at the back door, hand on the handle. She got there in time. She grabbed his wrist. "Stop watching the bride," Charlotte Whitmore said loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Eyes on me." Logan turned around. His voice was very, very quiet. "You're Charlotte Whitmore." "Yes." "You own the company I work for." "Yes." "You let me sit there for 2 hours and tell you about my kid." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you didn't know," she said. And Logan Carter, a man who had in his life been shot at, burned, and left, looked at her with an expression that made a woman worth $11 billion feel like the poorest person in the room. "That's the reason," he said. "That's the reason. Carter, you know what I've got in my pocket right now?" He pulled it out, held it up. A folded piece of construction paper, soft at the creases, glitter mostly gone. 6 paper stripes. "I've got this. That's what I've got. That's the whole inventory, ma'am. That's every single thing I own that matters." Charlotte couldn't speak. "And you're gonna stand there," Logan said, "and tell me the reason you let me sit down was that I didn't know who you were. Like that's a gift you gave me." He shook his head. "Once." "Ma'am, that's not a gift. That's a test, and I didn't know I was taking it." He pulled his wrist out of her hand. Not roughly. That was the part that killed her. He didn't rip it away or shove her off. He just took it back gently, the way you take back something that was never really yours to be held by. "I have to get home," he said. "Logan." "There's a 7-year-old waiting on me," he said. "And she is the only person on this earth who has ever wanted me for absolutely nothing." And he walked out. Charlotte Whitmore stood in the doorway of a ballroom with 300 people staring at her back, and a broken glass 40 feet behind her, and a photographer taking the picture that would run everywhere by Tuesday. She stood there for a long time. Then she turned around and she found Ryan Mitchell in the crowd, the groom on his own wedding night, watching her with an expression she couldn't read, and she walked straight up to him, and she said the sentence that would end up costing her a company, a board, and everything her father ever built. "Tell me about his daughter," she said. Ryan's face changed. "Ma'am?" "Tell me about his daughter." And Ryan Mitchell looked at the door his best friend had just walked out of. And he looked back at the most powerful woman in America. And he said, "He doesn't know yet." Charlotte went cold. "Doesn't know what?" Ryan didn't answer right away. He looked for the first time all night like a man who'd been carrying something heavier than a beer. "Ma'am," he said, "who do you think signed his contract?" Ryan Mitchell set his beer down on the nearest table like it had gotten heavy. "Ma'am, I've had 4 drinks and I got married 2 hours ago, and this is not a conversation I should be having." "Who signed his contract?" "Ma'am." "You asked me a question," Charlotte said. "You don't get to ask a question like that and then decide you're drunk. Who signed his contract?" Ryan looked at the door again. It had already swung shut. Somewhere behind them, the band had started up again because bands always do, because 300 people had watched a woman throw a glass and were now enthusiastically pretending they hadn't. "You did," Ryan said. Charlotte didn't move. "That's not possible." "It's got your name on it." "I have never signed an individual employment contract in my life. I sign acquisitions. I sign the annual. I don't sign anchor," Ryan said. And Charlotte Whitmore stopped talking. It was such a specific silence that Ryan noticed it. He'd been noticing things about her for 10 minutes now, ever since she'd walked across her own social execution to grab his best friend by the wrist. And what he was noticing was that everything he'd ever read about this woman was apparently written by people who'd never been in a room with her. "Say it again," she said. "The Anchor program. Whitmore Global. 411 placements, all veterans, all stateside. All..." Ryan stopped. "You know what it is. You started it." "I know what it is." "Then you signed it. Not his, specifically. The authorization. Every Anchor contract's got the same block on page 1, and it says authorized under executive signature C. Whitmore. And I know that because I read mine about 900 times in 2021, trying to figure out if it was real." "You're Anchor." "I'm Anchor," Ryan said. "He's Anchor. There's 6 of us at the Norfolk facility alone." Charlotte put her hand on the back of a chair. She would not remember doing it. Later, she would review that night frame by frame. She reviewed everything. It was the closest thing she had to a hobby, and the hand on the chair would simply not be in the footage her memory kept because Charlotte Whitmore did not need chairs. "He took an Anchor placement," she said slowly. "That's a step down. That's a significant step down. From commander, he'd have been looking at..." "Captain," Ryan said. 2 years, maybe 3. Everybody knew it. His CO knew it. His CO's CO knew it. There was a guy in D.C. who had Logan's name on a whiteboard. He picked his beer back up and then put it down again without drinking it. He turned it down. Took the civilian contract. Half the pay, none of the ceiling, and everybody in the fleet thought he'd lost his mind. Why? Because the bus comes at 7:15, Ryan said. Charlotte turned and looked at him. That's it, Ryan said. That's the whole reason. There's a bus that stops at the end of his street at 7:15 in the morning, and he wanted to be the guy who put her on it. He did the math. You know he does math. He worked out how many mornings he had left before she stopped wanting him to walk her out there, and he decided the number was small, and he traded a career for it. Ryan's jaw worked. He calls it the arithmetic. Like it's funny. It's not funny. It's the least funny thing I've ever heard a man say. 406, Charlotte said. What? He told me the number. 406 days. He knew it to the day. Ryan laughed once, and it came out wrong. Yeah, he would. Charlotte was quiet for a moment. Mr. Mitchell, she said. Why did you ask me who signed his contract? Because you were about to do something. I beg your pardon? You were standing there with your hands shaking, Ryan said. And you'd just watched him walk out, and I've known that man for 22 years, and I have watched about 6 people in my life look at him the way you were looking at that door. So I figured you were about to do something. Make a call. Fix something. Send a car. He met her eyes and did not look away. Which was, Charlotte would think later, the single most impressive thing anyone had done in her presence in a decade. And I wanted you to know before you did it that you're already in his life. You've been in it for 4 years. You just didn't know his name. Charlotte's mouth moved, but nothing came out of it. That's not a compliment, ma'am, Ryan said quietly. I need you to understand that's not a compliment. Then what is it? It's a warning. The band was playing something with horns in it. Somebody's aunt was dancing. Explain, Charlotte said. Ryan looked at the floor. Mr. Mitchell. I got a letter on Friday, Ryan said. Charlotte went absolutely still. Friday, 2 days before my wedding. And I read it in my truck in the parking lot of a tuxedo place, and then I put it in the glove box, and I went inside and got fitted for a jacket. He laughed again, that same wrong laugh. Structural realignment. That's what it's called. That's the phrase. Structural realignment of legacy placement programs pending Q3 board review. And there's a line in the middle of it that says affected personnel should anticipate transition guidance within 30 days. That's not, I've read it 40 times, ma'am. I'm not confused about what it says. Mr. Mitchell, that letter is a procedural notice. That's not a, is my job there in 90 days? Charlotte opened her mouth. And Charlotte Whitmore, who had never in her professional life been unable to answer a direct question, discovered that she could not answer a direct question. That's what I thought, Ryan said. I need to see that letter. It's in my glove box. Get it. It's my wedding, ma'am. Charlotte stopped. She looked at him at the tux he'd rented at the boutonniere going brown at the edge at his wife, across the room with her shoes in her hand, laughing at something, and Charlotte Whitmore did something she had done maybe 4 times since 2009. She apologized. I'm sorry, she said. You're right, that was unforgivable. Ryan blinked at her. You're really not what they say you are, he said. They say what's useful to them. Yeah, well. He rubbed his face. So do I, apparently. What does that mean? Ryan didn't answer. Mr. Mitchell? Nothing. You said he doesn't know yet. Charlotte's voice had dropped and gotten very precise the way it did about 9 seconds before somebody lost a company. Before you asked me about the contract, you said he doesn't know yet, and I assumed you meant the letter. And you've just spent 5 minutes telling me about the letter, and you have not once looked at me while you did it. And Mr. Mitchell, I have spent 22 years in rooms with men who are telling me the truth about the small thing. So I'll stop asking about the big one. Ryan closed his eyes. What doesn't he know? Charlotte said. Ma'am, what doesn't he know? And Ryan Mitchell on his wedding night in a rented tuxedo told her. In March, he said. Logan was underway, 6 weeks. And I'm his emergency contact, because there's nobody else, because there's literally nobody else on that form, except me and a 70-year-old Ukrainian woman who watches Emma. And the school called me. Charlotte didn't breathe. Hearing screening, Ryan said. They do it every year. It's nothing. It's a lady with a laptop and headphones and 40 kids in a gym. And Emma failed it. And they called me because they couldn't reach him because he was 4,000 miles away. Failed how? I don't know. It's like high frequencies. That's what she said. High frequencies. It's not that she can't hear. She hears fine. She talks fine. He made a gesture with his hand that meant nothing. S sounds. The sounds. F. The little ones. The ones that live at the top. Charlotte's hand tightened on the chair. Necessary, she said. Ryan looked up. What? Nothing. Her voice had gone strange. Go on. So they said it's a screening. It's not a diagnosis. She needs to see an actual audiologist. And I said, okay, send me whatever you have to send. And they sent a referral. Ryan swallowed. And the referral goes into the benefits portal. Because he's Anchor. Because Anchor's got its own plan. It's not the regular corporate plan. It's a whole separate, it's a carve-out. That's the word they kept using. I know what it is. Right. Well. Ryan's voice had gotten flat and mean, and it wasn't aimed at her, it was aimed at a wall 400 miles away. So the referral goes into the portal, and the portal spits back a code, and the code means pending program review. And I called. I called 11 times, ma'am. 11. And every time I got a person who said the words pending program review at me, like that was a sentence that meant something. And the 12th time I got a supervisor. And she was actually decent about it. She was trying. And she said off the record that the carve-out plans were all frozen while the program was under review, and nothing was going to move until the board voted. When? Charlotte said. When what? When does the board vote? Ryan looked at her. You don't know. When does the board vote, Mr. Mitchell? Monday, Ryan said. It's on the letter. It's the only date on the whole thing. Charlotte Whitmore stood in a ballroom she'd been invited to as a courtesy in a dress that cost more than a used truck and did arithmetic. He came home in April, Ryan said. And I met him at the pier, and he'd been gone 6 weeks, and Emma jumped on him so hard she split his lip. Actually split it, and he was laughing. He stopped. And I had it right there. I had the whole thing right there in my mouth. And I said, good to have you back, brother. And I got in my truck and I drove home. You didn't tell him. I didn't tell him. Why? Because I was going to fix it first, Ryan said. That's what I told myself. I was going to make the call and get the appointment, and then I'd say, hey, by the way, there's a thing. But I already fixed it. Because you can't hand that man a problem, ma'am. You can hand him a bullet. You can hand him a burning engine room. You hand him something about his kid that he can't solve, and it takes him apart. I've seen it. I saw it in 2022 when she had pneumonia, and he called me at 2 a.m. from a boat, and I have never in my life heard anything like it. I still hear it. He stopped. He put his hand over his mouth for a second. So I was going to fix it first, he said. And then it was May. And then it was June. And then it was my wedding, and I looked out at the back of the room tonight, and there he was standing in a doorway like an idiot, and I gave a toast about how he's the best man I've ever known. The horns had stopped. Somebody was clapping. He's going to find out, Charlotte said. Yeah, not from the letter. Not from the portal. From her. Charlotte's voice was doing something now that Ryan would describe to his wife much later as the sound of ice under a boot. She's 7. She's already compensating. She's been compensating for a year. She reads lips. She watches faces. She guesses. That's why she watches him so hard. That's why she knows what he's feeling before he says it. Everyone thinks that's love. It's not love. Mr. Mitchell, it's work. How do you know that? Charlotte stopped. How do you know that? Ryan said again. Where is he? Ma'am, where does he live? I'm not telling you that. Mr. Mitchell, you want to know why, Ryan said. Because you'd go. Right now. Tonight. You'd get in a car, and you'd be at that man's door at 10 o'clock at night, and you'd tell him everything, and you'd think you were doing him a kindness. He shook his head slowly. And ma'am, with all respect, he'd never come back from it. Not the news. The source. You'd be the woman who lied about her name for 2 hours and then showed up at his house to tell him his daughter's going deaf and his job's gone, and it was your company both times. You'd be the worst thing that ever happened to him. And you'd have done it in one night. Charlotte stared at him. Then what do I do? She said. And Ryan Mitchell, 22-year enlisted man, 39 years old, married for 2 hours and 11 minutes, looked at the 11th richest woman in America and said, "Fix it before he finds out, and don't ever tell him you did." The car was quiet. Charlotte had a driver named Anton who had worked for her for 9 years and had learned in the first 9 days that she did not want conversation, and so the two of them existed in a companionable silence that had at this point lasted the better part of a decade. Charlotte broke it at 8:52. "Anton." "Ma'am." "Do you have children?" The car moved about a quarter mile before he answered. "3, ma'am." "3." Charlotte looked out the window. "How old?" 19, 16, and Mila's 11. "Mila." "Yes, ma'am." "Anton, in 9 years I have never asked you that." "No, ma'am." Charlotte nodded slowly. "Anton, I'd like you to pull over." "Ma'am?" "Pull over. Anywhere. There's a pull into that." He pulled into a gas station off the highway and put the car in park, and Charlotte Whitmore sat in the back of an armored Mercedes under a fluorescent light and pressed both hands flat against her own face. Anton watched her in the mirror for 4 seconds. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "are you—" "Give me a minute." "Yes, ma'am." She gave herself the minute. She actually timed it. And at the end of the minute, she took her hands off her face and picked up her phone and called a man named Devesh Raman, who had been her chief of staff for 6 years, and who answered on the second ring at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, because that was the arrangement and he'd been paid extremely well to make it. "Charlotte?" "Anchor," she said. There was a pause on the line that lasted a beat too long. "Devesh." "I'm here." That was a long pause. It was a normal pause. "Devesh, I've been listening to you pause for 6 years. Tell me about Anchor." Another pause. "It's on Monday's agenda," he said. "I know it's on Monday's agenda. It's item, what is it, 1114. 14. Charlotte closed her eyes. "It's item 14. 411 people, and it's item 14. We're going to talk about the Rotterdam lease. Before we talk about Devesh, why don't I know about this?" "You do know about it." "I don't. You approved the review." "Charlotte." The car ticked. "Say that again." "You approved the review. In March. It was in the operational consolidation packet. It was a schedule item. It was 1 line, and you signed the packet in a car on the way to the airport, and I know that because I was in the car." Devesh's voice was very level. He had a good voice for this. It was why she'd hired him. "You asked me what page, and I said 41, and you said, 'Is any of this load-bearing?' And I said no, and you signed it." Charlotte did not say anything for a long moment. "Is any of this load-bearing?" she repeated. "Charlotte, that's what I said. That's what I asked. Is any of this load-bearing? You ask that about everything. You've asked me that 400 times. It's a shorthand. It means, will anyone die? And I said no. And you were wrong. Charlotte, it's a review. It's not a termination. Nothing has been—" "There's a man," Charlotte said, "who turned down a captaincy in the United States Navy so he could walk his kid to a bus stop, and his contract is item 14, and his daughter can't hear the letter S, and her referral is sitting in a portal because it's frozen pending the review that I signed on the way to the airport because no one was going to die." Devesh Raman did not say anything at all. "Ask me how I know that," Charlotte said. "How do you know that?" "Because I met him 3 hours ago and he told me about a shoebox," she said, and her voice finally broke just once, just a hairline, and she caught it and hammered it flat before it could spread. "He told me about a shoebox under a bed with 400 pieces of paper in it, and he did not ask me for one single thing. Charlotte, pull the file. It's 9 o'clock on Saturday. Pull the file. Which file? All of it. Anchor. The original authorization, the carve-out, the actuarial, the March packet page. 41. The whole and Devesh pull one individual. Carter Logan, Norfolk facility. I want his file, and I want his dependent file, and I want the referral log with timestamps, and I want the name of every human being who touched it. Charlotte, I can't pull a dependent medical? Then get me someone who can. That's not there's a law. Charlotte, there's several laws. I can't just, then get me the parts. You can get me legally, and get them to me by 6 a.m. And Devesh? She stopped and breathed, and started again in a completely different register. And it was this register that made Devesh Raman's stomach drop out of him, because in 6 years he'd heard it exactly twice, and both times somebody had lost everything. Who else is on Monday? What do you mean? Who's driving it? Item 14 doesn't drive itself. Somebody put it on the agenda. Who? Silence. Devesh? You're not going to like it. Say the name. Denhoff, Devesh said. Charlotte Whitmore laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Anton in the front seat gripped the wheel. Marcus Denhoff, she said. He came onto the board I know when he came onto the board, I seconded him. I sat in a room and said his name out loud, like a lunatic. She was laughing, and there was nothing in it. Devesh, do you know where I was 3 hours ago? I was at a wedding. And do you know who spent the entire evening working up the nerve to come talk to me? Charlotte. He put his hands on me, she said. Both hands. Like we were old friends. He said we met at the Aspen thing. She looked out the window at the gas pumps. He was standing 9 feet from that man for 2 hours, and he never once looked at him. Not once. 411 people are item 14, and Marcus Denhoff has never looked at one of them. What do you want me to do? I want the file by 6. And Monday. Monday. Charlotte said, I'm going to Norfolk. The porch light was on. It was on because Logan had told Mrs. Petrov 900 times not to wait up, and she had ignored him 900 times. And when he came through the door at 9:14, 23 minutes late, 23, he'd have to hear about it. She was sitting on his couch with her coat already on, holding her purse in her lap like a woman waiting for a train. 91 minutes, she said. Traffic. You said 8:30. I know what I said. Was there a woman? Logan stopped with one arm out of his jacket. What? Mrs. Petrov stood up. She was 4'11" and 71 years old, and she had buried 2 husbands and outlived a country, and she looked at Logan Carter the way a customs officer looks at a suitcase. Was there a woman? She said again. Mrs. P. Your face is different. My face is tired. Your face is tired and different. She patted his chest twice on her way past, which from her was roughly a standing ovation. She is awake. Do not tell her I let her be awake. Mrs. P. Good night, Commander. The door closed. Logan stood in his own living room for a second with his jacket half off. Then he went down the hall. The lamp was on. The blue-lidded shoebox was on the bed open. Which was rare. She didn't do it in front of him. Usually it was hers, and Emma Carter was sitting cross-legged in front of it in pajamas, with a pencil in her fist. And when the door opened, she slammed the lid on it so fast she nearly took her own fingers off. You're supposed to be asleep. You're supposed to be home, Emma said. That's fair. 91 minutes. You've been talking to Mrs. P. She counts. Everybody counts around here. He sat down on the edge of the bed and it groaned, and Emma immediately climbed onto his back like he was furniture, which he had been for 7 years, and hoped to be for 70 more. Did you get the box open before or after she said lights out? Before. Emma. Mostly before. He laughed. She felt it through his back and did the thing she always did, which was press her ear flat against him, flat hard, like she was listening for something under the floor, and Logan had thought for 3 years that this was the sweetest thing in the world, and had never once, not one time, wondered why she did it. "Was it good?" she said. "The wedding. It was long. Was there cake?" "There was cake." "Did you get me some?" Logan closed his eyes. "Dad, I left before the cake." "Dad, I'm sorry." "You always leave before the cake," Emma said, and she said it lightly. She said it as a joke, and it went into him like a nail. "That's okay. Mrs. P made the rice thing." "The rice thing's better than cake." "Nothing's better than cake." "Some things are better than cake." "Name one." "The rice thing." "That's the same one." He rolled and dumped her onto the mattress, and she shrieked, and he told her to keep it down, and she did not keep it down, and it took 4 minutes to get her back under the blanket, and by then it was 9:31, and he was already 31 minutes into borrowed time. "Tuesday words," Emma said. "It's Saturday." "Test is Monday." "Test is Monday, and it's Saturday, and you're supposed to be asleep." "Tuesday words," Emma said, in a voice that was, Logan thought, alarmingly like a voice he'd heard about 2 hours ago in a ballroom. He got the list off the dresser. "Okay. Address? ADDRESS. Believe. BELIEVE. Good. Since." Emma's mouth opened. Then it closed. "Since," Logan said. SINTS. Logan looked at the page. "Try again." SINTS. Em listened to it. Since. "That's what I said." "You said since." "I said since." "Okay," Logan said, and something at the base of his skull had gone very quiet and very cold, and he did not know why yet, and he kept his voice exactly the same, because that is what 22 years teaches a man. "One more. Necessary." Emma's shoulders dropped. "I hate that one." "I know." "That one's not fair." "I know." NECESS. She stopped. "Wait. NECECARY. Try it again. NECEC. Em, look at me." She looked at him, and Logan Carter watched his daughter's eyes go to his mouth. Not his eyes, his mouth. And they stayed there. And he had a sudden, violent, total recall flash of every conversation he'd had with this child in the last 18 months. Every dinner, every drive, every bedtime. And in every single one of them, she was looking at his mouth. She was always looking at his mouth, and he had thought it was because she loved him. "Necessary," he said, quietly. NECESSARY, Emma said. "Good." "Was that right?" "That was right." "Say it again." Logan turned his head. He turned his head to the side casually like he was looking at the door, and he said in exactly the same voice, "Say 56. Emma didn't say anything. He waited. What?" He turned back. She was watching his mouth. "Nothing," Logan said. "Nothing, baby. Lie down." She lay down. He pulled the blanket up. She grabbed his hand on the way past, the way she always did, and held 2 of his fingers in her whole fist and said, "Don't go." "I'm not going anywhere." "You always say that." "And I'm always here in the morning." "Except 406 times," Emma said. Logan Carter sat on the edge of his daughter's bed for a very long time after she fell asleep. Then he got up and he walked out into the hallway and he closed the door very quietly, and he stood in the dark with one hand flat against the wall and did not move for 11 minutes. At 11:40, he opened the benefits portal on his laptop. He typed in his employee number. He typed in the dependent tab. He typed in her name. And at the top of the screen in gray in a font designed by somebody who had never met anybody was a line that said, "Referral Audiology, Pediatric Status Pending Program Review, March 14th. Logan sat there. 4 months. It had been sitting there for 4 months. He scrolled down, and there was a phone number and a case ID and a name in the Authorized By field, and Logan Carter, read the name in the authorized by field, and the whole world went perfectly surgically silent. C. Whitmore. She got out of the car at 6:58 on Monday morning. Norfolk was gray and enormous and smelled like salt and diesel, and the facility was a long, low building with the logo on it. Her logo, her name. And Charlotte Whitmore stood in the parking lot in a coat that cost more than the cars around it, and watched a man in a canvas jacket walk across the lot with a coffee. He saw her. He stopped walking for about a half second. She saw it. She caught it. It was the only tell he gave her all morning, and then he kept walking straight past her close enough that she could have touched him. Commander? He didn't stop. Carter? He kept going. Logan? He stopped. He didn't turn around. I have 30 seconds, Charlotte said. I know I don't deserve them. I'm asking for them anyway. You don't have to ask. Logan said, still not turning around. You own the parking lot. Don't do that. I'm not doing anything, ma'am. I'm going to work. His voice was perfectly even. It was so even that a woman with 9 years of experience reading men across tables felt her hands go cold. That's what I do. I come here, and I do the work, and I go home. That's the whole deal. That's the arithmetic. Logan, there's a meeting today. Item 14. Charlotte's mouth stopped working. He turned around. And Charlotte Whitmore saw his face and understood in one single instant that she was already too late, that she had been too late since roughly 9 o'clock Saturday night, that Ryan Mitchell had been right about every single thing, and she'd driven 4 hours anyway because she had never in her life believed a door was actually closed. You know, she said, I've known since 11:40 on Saturday night. Logan, you want to hear something funny? His voice hadn't changed at all. That was the worst part. I sat next to you for 2 hours. 2 hours. And I told you about the shoebox. And I told you about the 6 paper stripes. And I told you about my wife leaving on a Thursday, which, ma'am, I have not told anybody that. Not the chaplain. Not Ryan. Nobody. He nodded slowly. And you sat there. And you let me. And your name is on my daughter's file. I didn't know. I believe you. Charlotte flinched. Actually flinched. That's what I keep landing on, Logan said. That's the part I couldn't sleep on. Because you didn't know. Because it's not personal. Because it's item 14 and it's page 41, and you signed it in a car on the way to the airport. How do you? Because that's how it always is, Logan said. That's the whole thing, ma'am. Nobody decided my kid can't hear. Nobody hated her. There's no villain. Somebody signed a packet. He took a step toward her. And that's so much worse. You understand that a villain I can fight. I've fought villains. I'm good at villains. His voice finally cracked. I don't know how to fight page 41. Charlotte couldn't move. Logan, she said. The vote's at 11. I can... And then a door opened behind her, and a voice she'd heard 3 times in her life said warmly, delightedly, Charlotte, I heard you were on site. Marcus Denhoff came across the lot with his hand already out and a folder under his arm and a smile like a lease agreement. And he stopped when he saw who she was standing with. He looked at Logan. He looked at Charlotte. And Marcus Denhoff's smile got very slightly wider. Oh, he said. Oh. He opened the folder, and he turned it around. It was a photograph. It was already printed. It had already been printed, which meant it had been printed before he drove here, which meant he'd known for at least a day, and Charlotte's whole body went to ice as she looked down at a photograph of herself in a ballroom doorway, with her hand locked around a Navy commander's wrist. Item 14, Denhoff said pleasantly. Just got a lot more interesting, don't you think? Charlotte didn't look at the photograph. That was the first thing Denhoff noticed, and it bothered him more than he let show. She looked at him. Marcus? She said. How long have you had that? Since Sunday morning. It ran on 3 sites before noon. He tilted the folder a little generously, like he was sharing. This is the cleanest one. The others have your face in them. And you drove 4 hours to hand it to me in a parking lot. I drove 4 hours because I care about this company. Marcus, you've been on this board 11 months. You've been to 9 meetings. You've missed 4. Charlotte's voice was very pleasant. You've never been to Norfolk in your life? Neither have you. The words landed flat on the asphalt between them. Logan, who had not moved, who had not said a single word since the door opened, took one long breath through his nose. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm gonna go do my job." "Commander," Denhoff started. "Don't." "I'm sorry. Don't call me that." Logan didn't raise his voice. He never raised his voice. That was the thing about him that nobody who'd only read about him could understand. He'd been in rooms where men screamed, and he had never once been one of them. "You've got a photograph of my wrist in a folder. You didn't drive 4 hours to talk to her. You drove 4 hours so somebody could see you hand it to her. And I'm the somebody." He nodded slowly. "So no. You don't get to call me Commander. You haven't earned the word." Denhoff's smile didn't move, but something behind it recalculated. "You have no idea what's happening here," he said. "I know exactly what's happening here," Logan said. "You're about to vote on whether 411 guys keep their contracts, and you found a picture that makes it look like the CEO's sleeping with one of them. And now anybody who votes to save the program looks like they're doing her a personal favor." He looked at Denhoff for a second longer. "That's not complicated. That's not high finance. My 8-year-old could run that play. She'd just feel bad after." Denhoff's jaw shifted a quarter inch. Charlotte saw it. Charlotte had spent 22 years watching men's jaws, and she saw it, and something in her chest that had been frozen since Saturday cracked and started moving. "That's an interesting theory," Denhoff said. "It's not a theory," Logan said. "It's Tuesday." "It's Monday." "Yeah," Logan said. "It is." And he walked past both of them into the building. The door swung shut. Charlotte stood in her own parking lot with a man she'd seconded onto her own board, and she said quietly, "Marcus." "Charlotte, before you say something, you can't walk back. Give me the folder." "It's a courtesy copy." "Give me the folder." He handed it over. Of course he did. He'd wanted her to take it. The folder was the whole point. The folder was a leash he wanted her holding, and Charlotte knew it and took it anyway. "There's a version of today," Denhoff said, "where none of this gets ugly. You recuse. Item 14 goes through on the numbers, and the numbers are the numbers, Charlotte. They've been bad for 3 years, and you know they've been bad. And nobody has to ask why the CEO of Whitmore Global was photographed at a wedding grabbing a subcontracted employee by the arm. Recuse. It's the responsible thing. Marcus, I founded the program." "I know," Denhoff said, and he said it kindly, "and that was the worst thing he did all day. That's why you can't be objective about it." Charlotte looked at him for a long moment. "How much of Anchor's headcount is Norfolk?" she said. "What?" "It's a number, Marcus. You've read the deck. How much of the headcount is here?" He didn't answer. "Because I read the deck at 4 o'clock this morning," Charlotte said. "And Norfolk's 109. And the recommendation isn't to end Anchor. The recommendation is to consolidate Anchor into Tampa, where you have a facilities partner, which you disclosed, which nobody read." Her head tilted. "Marcus, does your facilities partner have a name?" Denhoff's face did not change. 11 o'clock, Charlotte," he said, and he walked away. She found Devesh in a conference room with 3 laptops and the look of a man who had not been to bed. "Tell me you have it." "I have some of it. I don't have all of it. Charlotte, I want to say something first, and I want you to let me finish. Say it fast. You're going to lose." She stopped. 11 seats, Devesh said. "You've got 3. You've got Okonkwo. You've got Reyes. You've got Bill Hale. Because Bill Hale votes with you on everything and always has. That's 4 with yours. Denhoff has 5, which means Monique Delacroix decides this, and Monique Delacroix has not decided anything in 4 years without knowing which way the room went first. Then I'll get the room. Charlotte." Devesh took his glasses off. "You can't get the room. The photograph's on 3 sites. 2 of them called us." One of them ran a headline with the word scandal in it at 6 a.m. And by 9, there'll be 9 more. And every single person in that meeting is going to be sitting there thinking about one thing, and it will not be 411 veterans. It'll be her hand on his arm. Then let them think it. Charlotte, let them think it Devesh. She put both hands flat on the table. Do you understand what he said to me in the parking lot? He said there's no villain. He said nobody decided. He said somebody signed a packet. Her voice was rising and she let it. That's not a metaphor. That's a description. That's how it actually happened. And I have been that packet signer for 22 years. And I have been proud of it. I've been proud of how fast I sign. I've told that story at conferences. I've said I don't do sentiment. I do arithmetic. That's a good line. It's a confession, Devesh. She was breathing hard. Give me what you have. He turned the laptop around. Okay, Anchor. Original authorization 2021. You want the bad news or the worse news? Both. The bad news is the numbers are real. Anchor costs about 4 times a standard placement per head. That's not a manipulation, that's just true. The carve-out plan is expensive because the population's expensive. You took 400 guys with service-related everything, and you insured them properly, instead of dumping them on the exchange. Denhoff's not lying about the cost. And the worst news. Devesh hesitated. The worst news is that page 41 wasn't in the March packet when I built it. Charlotte went very still. Say that again. It was added. He clicked. Version history. The packet went to legal on March 6th with 39 pages. It came back with 42. Somebody inserted a schedule item and repaginated the whole document, and I didn't catch it because it was one line in a consolidation schedule, and I have never in 6 years read a consolidation schedule line by line in Charlotte. I want to be extremely clear that's on me. That's mine. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it isn't. Who added it? The metadata says the paralegal. Devesh. The paralegal added it, Charlotte. The paralegal added it because somebody told her to add it, and the somebody isn't in the metadata because the somebody was in the room. Charlotte looked at the screen for a long time. March 6th, she said. Denhoff came onto the board info August. So, he sat there for 7 months, Charlotte said, and read the org chart, and found the one program with my name on it and no champion, and put one line in a schedule and waited. That's what it looks like. And Emma Carter's referral froze on March 14th. 8 days later. Charlotte closed her eyes. Can we unfreeze it? She said. Not without unfreezing all of them. It's a plan-level hold. It's 411 families. Charlotte, it's not a switch with one guy's name on it. Then unfreeze all of them. That's $140 million in exposure, and you don't have the authority to do it unilaterally while the item is under board review, which... Devesh looked at her. Which is what the review is for. That's why the review exists. The review exists so that you can't do exactly what you are about to try to do. Charlotte opened her eyes. He built a cage, she said. He built a cage. For me. For you, Devesh said. And Charlotte, he built it in March, before the wedding. Before any of this. The photograph isn't the plan. The photograph is a gift somebody dropped in his lap on Saturday night. Charlotte stood there. Then she said, Where is he? Denhoff's in the... Not Denhoff. Logan was in a maintenance bay with a clipboard and a diagnostic tablet, and a 19-year-old kid named Torres who was explaining at length why a compressor was fine. It's not fine, Logan said. Sir, the numbers are green. The numbers are green, and it sounds like a coffee grinder. What's it sound like? A coffee grinder. So it's not fine. But the numbers... Torres. Logan tapped the tablet with 2 fingers. This tells you what somebody decided to measure. Your ears tell you what's actually happening. When those 2 disagree, which one do you think has been wrong more often in the history of the United States Navy? Torres opened his mouth. Ma'am, he said instead, and straightened up so fast he nearly dropped a wrench. Logan didn't turn around. Torres, go get a coffee. I don't drink coffee, sir. Torres. Going to get a coffee, sir? The kid fled. Logan kept his eyes on the compressor. There's nothing to say, he said. I know. Then why are you here? Charlotte stood in a maintenance bay in a $4,000 coat and said, Because I need something from you and I don't have the right to ask for it, and I'm going to ask anyway. Logan turned around. That got him. She watched it get him the honesty of it, the sheer unornamented transaction of it, and she understood in that half-second exactly what Ryan Mitchell had been trying to tell her. You couldn't move this man with kindness. He'd been braced for kindness his whole life. He'd been braced for kindness since a woman left a note on a counter. You could only move him with the truth. Say it, he said. I need you in the room at 11. Logan laughed. It wasn't a good laugh. No, Logan. No, absolutely not. You want to walk me into a boardroom with 11 millionaires and a photograph of your hand on my arm and have me stand up and say what? Say I'm a good guy. Say my kid's a nice kid. He shook his head. Ma'am, do you know what that makes me? That makes me a prop. That's a man holding up his daughter's audiogram so a room full of people can feel something for 90 seconds and then vote however they were always going to vote. That's exactly what it makes you. Logan stopped. I'm not going to lie to you, Charlotte said. I've lied to you once already, and it cost me the only 2 hours I've enjoyed in 6 years. So no, I'm not going to tell you it's dignified. It's not. It's the worst thing I've ever asked anyone to do. You'd be standing in a room where everyone has already decided holding your kid up like an exhibit, and you'd feel it in your body for the rest of your life. Then why are you asking? Because it works, Charlotte said. Logan stared at her. That's the obscene part, she said. That's the part I've known for 22 years and never said out loud. It works. Numbers don't move rooms. Rooms move rooms. And the only thing that has ever in my entire career changed a vote in that building is a human being standing where the spreadsheet used to be. Her hands were shaking. She let them. Marcus Denhoff has never looked at one of you. Not once. Not one of the 411. He's read your cost per head. He's never heard your voice. And I have watched men like him make decisions their entire lives, and they can do it forever. Logan, they can do it right up until the second somebody they can't dismiss is standing 8 feet away. So I'm the somebody. You're the somebody. And what do I get? Charlotte didn't answer immediately. You want to know what's really eating me? Logan said, and his voice had gone quiet again, and quiet was worse. It's not the job. I can get a job. I got offered 3 last year, and I turned them down because they were in Jacksonville and the bus stop's here. It's not even the referral because I'll pay for it. I've got $14,000 in an account that is for things exactly like this. That's what it's for. That's why it's there. Logan, a cochlear workup is. I know what it is. I looked it up at 2 in the morning on Sunday like every other father in America. He turned back to the compressor. That's not the thing. Then what's the thing? He didn't answer for a while. She's been doing it for a year, he said. Charlotte's throat closed. A year at least, maybe 2, and she never said anything. His hand was flat on the housing of a machine that was still running. She's 7 years old and something started going wrong inside her head, and she handled it, by herself. She figured out to look at my mouth. She figured out to sit on the left side at school. She figured out to watch my face so hard she can tell what I'm thinking. And I thought. His voice went. He stopped and fixed it exactly the way Charlotte fixed hers, and both of them noticed, and neither said anything. I thought that was because she loved me, he said. That's what I told myself. My kid watches me because she loves me. I've got 100 memories of it, and every single one of them is her doing math. She was working. She was working the whole time, and I was standing right there feeling good about it. Logan, so no ma'am, it's not the job. He finally looked at her. It's that she didn't tell me. Because a kid tells you when it's safe to tell you. And she's had 406 chances to tell me. And she didn't take one. And I don't know what that says about me, but I've had 2 days to think about it, and I can't get it to say anything good." The compressor ground away. Charlotte took one step toward him. "Can I say something you're going to hate? You're gonna anyway. She didn't tell you because you were on a boat," Charlotte said. "That's it. That's the whole reason. She didn't tell you because for half of every year the only thing she can do with a problem is carry it, and by the time you're home, she's already carried it so long it stopped feeling like a thing worth mentioning." She swallowed. "I know that because I did it. My father asked me once how school was, and I'd had pneumonia for 2 weeks, and I said fine. And I wasn't protecting him. I wasn't performing. It genuinely didn't occur to me that it was information he'd want." Logan closed his eyes. "That's the worst thing anybody's ever said to me." "I know." "Like that is the single worst." "I know." "Then why say it?" "Why?" "Because you're wrong about what it says about you," Charlotte said. "It doesn't say she didn't trust you. It says she's 7, and she's been solving an adult problem alone since she was 5, and Logan—" Her voice finally went, and she didn't fix it this time. She let it go, and it came out ragged and strange and human. "I was that kid. I was her. And nobody ever came. Nobody ever noticed. I did it alone until I was 43 years old, and I built a company out of it, and I am the loneliest human being in this parking lot." She wiped her face with the heel of her hand, furious, efficient. "You noticed in one night. One. You came home from a party and quizzed her on a spelling list, and you noticed." Logan didn't say anything. "So don't stand there and tell me what it says about you," Charlotte said. "I know what it says about you. It says she got the good one." The bay was very loud and very quiet at the same time. 11 o'clock, Logan said. 11 o'clock. And I stand up and I say what? "I don't know." "You don't know. I've written speeches for 22 years, and every one of them worked, and not one of them ever changed a single thing," Charlotte said. "So, no, I don't know. Say whatever's true. That's all I've got. That's the entire strategy." Logan looked at her for a long moment. "That's a terrible strategy. It's the only one I've got left." "Ma'am, you've got $11 billion. "Yeah," Charlotte said. "And item 14's still on the agenda." Bien. He went home first. He wasn't going to. He was going to go straight there. He got in the truck, and he sat in the lot for 4 minutes, and then he drove 11 miles the wrong direction and pulled up outside a school and walked into a front office and said, "I need to sign my daughter out." "Is everything okay, Mr. Carter?" "No," Logan said. They brought her down. She came around the corner with her backpack on both shoulders and her hair coming out of its thing, and she saw him and stopped dead because he had never in her entire life picked her up early, not once. And Emma Carter's face did something that Logan would think about for the rest of his days. She wasn't happy. She was scared. Because in her experience, the only reason a parent shows up early is that something is gone. "Hey," he said, and he crouched down so his face was level with hers, so she could see his mouth, and he understood exactly what he was doing while he did it, and it nearly killed him. "Hey, nothing's wrong. Nobody's hurt. Nothing's wrong." "Then why are you here?" "Because I want to tell you something, and I didn't want to wait." "Am I in trouble?" "No." "Are you in trouble?" Logan laughed, and it came out broken. "A little," he said. "Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth, even if you think it's going to make me feel bad. Can you do that?" She got very serious. She had a whole face for it. It was in Logan's opinion the funniest and most devastating face on planet Earth. "Okay," she said. "When did you stop hearing right?" Emma's whole body went still, and Logan watched his 7-year-old daughter, his kid, his entire inventory. The only thing he owned that mattered, make a calculation. He watched her decide whether it was safe. "You're not in trouble," he said. "I swear on M, I swear on the box. On the whole box, every paper in it." Her chin started going. "Second grade," she whispered. "Second grade," Mrs. Hollis moved me to the back because I was talking and then everything got... She made a shape with her hand, a flat sliding shape, and it was the most articulate thing Logan had ever seen a human being do. And I just watched her mouth, and it worked, so I didn't say anything. Why not? Because you were on the boat, Emma said. Logan Carter put his forehead down on his daughter's shoulder in the front office of an elementary school and made a sound that the woman behind the desk would tell her husband about that night. I'm sorry, Emma said. Dad, I'm sorry. No. He got his head up. He got his voice back. He did it in about 3 seconds because that's what 22 years is for, and he took her face in both hands. No, baby. Listen to me. You didn't do anything wrong. You did the bravest thing I've ever heard of, and I've been in a war. Really? Really? He wiped her face with his thumb. But you're done doing it alone, right now, as of this second. That job's over. It's mine now. Can they fix it? I don't know. You always know. Yeah, Logan said. Well, I'm learning some stuff. He stood up. He took her hand. Where are we going? I gotta go to a meeting, Logan said, and I need you to sit in a hallway for a little bit. Is it a boring meeting? Extremely. Do I have to be quiet? Logan said, you can be as loud as you want. At 10:58, the doors of the Whitmore Global Boardroom opened. 11 people looked up. Charlotte Whitmore, at the head of a table she had sat at for 22 years, watched a man in a canvas jacket walk in, holding the hand of a 7-year-old girl with a blue shoebox under her arm, and she watched Marcus Denhoff's face turn the color of paper. Logan stopped at the foot of the table. Morning, he said. My name's Logan Carter. I'm item 14. Nobody said anything for 4 full seconds. Then Marcus Denhoff laughed one short syllable, the kind of laugh a man makes when he's buying time. I'm sorry, who let Charlotte? Is this a stunt? Marcus? Because if this is a stunt, I want it in the minutes. Put it in the minutes, Charlotte said. Denhoff turned to the woman on his left. Monique, you're seeing this. Monique Delacroix did not answer. She was looking at the shoebox. Sit down, Mr. Carter, Charlotte said. I'll stand. Sit down. Ma'am, Logan said, with respect. I've spent my whole life sitting down when somebody with a bigger chair told me to, and it hasn't worked out, so I'm gonna stand. Bill Hale, 74 years old, 3 seats down, made a noise into his coffee that everyone heard and nobody acknowledged. There's a child in here, Denhoff said. There is, Logan agreed. This is a closed session. Then close it. I'll leave. She'll leave. And you'll vote on us anyway in about 9 minutes, which is what you were going to do at 11 o'clock, regardless. So I don't see what changes. Except you don't have to look at her while you do it. Denhoff's mouth opened. Which, Logan said, I think is the point. Mr. Carter? Emma. Logan said, go sit in that chair by the wall. Which one? The one by the wall, baby. There's 4. The blue one. They're all blue. Emma. Fine. Emma Carter said, and dragged her shoebox over to a $900 chair and climbed into it and sat with her feet not touching the floor and her chin up, glaring at a room full of the wealthiest people she'd ever seen, and 11 adults discovered simultaneously that they could not look directly at her. Charlotte put both hands flat on the table. Item 14, she said. Charlotte, you're recusing. I'm not recusing. You said. I never said. She turned her head. Devesh, distribute. Devesh Raman stood up and started walking folders around the table, and Denhoff watched them land like a man watching weather move in. What is this? Version history, Charlotte said. Version, page 1. That's the March consolidation packet as it left my Chief of Staff's desk on March 6th. 39 pages. Page 2, that's the same document after legal review. 42 pages. She let it sit. Somebody added 3 pages, Marcus. One of them's page 41, and page 41 is item 14. Documents get amended in legal review. That's what legal review is. Whose instruction? I have no idea. Marcus, you came onto this board in August. Charlotte's voice was almost gentle. In 11 months, you have attended 5 meetings out of 9. You have never visited a facility. You have never asked for a head count. And in March, 7 months into your tenure, the one program in this company with my personal signature on it, and no operating champion acquired a review, and 8 days later 411 medical carve-outs froze. That's a coincidence and a smear. Then help me out. Who's Tampa? Denhoff didn't blink. Tampa's a facility. Tampa's a facility owned by a partnership, and the partnership has a general partner, and the general partner filed an amended disclosure on April 2nd. Charlotte flipped a page without looking at it. Marcus is your wife's maiden name, Ashworth. The room's temperature changed. Careful, Denhoff said. Ashworth Sperry Holdings owns 41% of the Tampa facility, Charlotte said. You disclosed it. You did. It's on the form. It's on line 9 of a supplemental attachment that nobody reads, and I want to be extremely clear with this board. She looked around the table. He did not break a rule. He followed every rule. He filed every form. That's what makes it good. You're accusing me of self-dealing in front of a child. I'm accusing you of arithmetic, Charlotte said. You didn't hate anybody. You never do. You looked at an org chart and you found 411 people who cost 4 times per head and had nobody to speak for them, and you moved a line. And if it works, you make about $11 million over 6 years, and 411 families move to Tampa or don't move at all. She sat back. There's no villain in it. Nobody decided. Somebody signed a packet. Logan looked at her. She didn't look back. She didn't have to. This is embarrassing, Denhoff said, and turned to the room. Monique, Bill, this is embarrassing. She was photographed 48 hours ago with her hands on this man. One hand, Logan said. Denhoff stopped. It was one hand, Logan said. It was my wrist, and she wasn't grabbing me, sir. She was stopping me, and there's a difference. And every man in this room knows the difference, because every man in this room's had somebody try to stop him from walking out of something. He shrugged. But you printed the picture on Sunday morning, so I guess you already decided which one it was. Who is this man? Denhoff said to the room. He told you, Bill Hale said. He's item 14. Bill, Marcus, I've been on this board since before your voice dropped. Hale set his coffee down. Let the man talk. If he's nothing, he'll be nothing in 5 minutes, and you'll have your vote, and you'll have it clean. Denhoff sat back. Fine, he said. Talk. And Logan Carter, who had faced a room exactly like this one, exactly 0 times in his life, discovered that his hands were shaking. He put them on the back of a chair. I don't know how to do this, he said. Nobody said anything. I want to say that first because I'm going to get it wrong, and I'd rather you know it's not a technique. I've never been in a room like this. I've been in a room where a man died. I've been in a room where I had to tell 6 people something I didn't want to tell them. I've never been in a room with a table like this. He looked down at it. How much is this table? Excuse me, Denhoff said. It's a real question. How much is the table? I have no idea. Somebody knows, Logan said. Somebody signed for it. Silence. 42,000, Devesh said quietly. Thank you. Logan nodded. Okay. So my daughter's audiology workup is 14. I looked it up Sunday night at 2 in the morning. Full workup imaging, and if it goes the way I think it's gonna go, the device is another 42. Give or take. He looked around. So my kid costs 1 table. That's the arithmetic. I'm not saying that to make anybody feel bad. It's not a gotcha. I'm saying it because I've been sitting here for 4 minutes, and I've been trying to figure out how to make you feel what I feel, and I can't, and the table's the closest I've got. Mr. Carter, Monique Delacroix said. It was the first thing she'd said all morning. What is it you want? I want you to look at her. Nobody moved. That's it. That's my whole ask. I'm not asking you to save my job. I'll get a job. I'm not asking for the money. I've got $14,000 in an account, and I'll spend every dollar of it today, and I won't feel one thing about it. I'm asking 11 people to turn their heads about 4 inches and look at the kid in the chair for 5 seconds before you vote. That's manipulation, Denhoff said. Yeah, Logan said. It is. Denhoff's head came up. It's exactly that, Logan said. The lady told me so this morning. Told me straight out, said I'd be a prop. Said it'd be the worst thing I ever did. Said I'd feel it in my body forever. And she was right. I do. I feel it right now. I feel sick. His voice was steady, and his hands weren't. So yeah, it's manipulation. But sir, so is page 41. You put my daughter in a spreadsheet where nobody had to look at her. That's the same trick. You just did it with a font. Somebody at the far end of the table exhaled. I'm just doing yours out loud, Logan said. Denhoff opened his mouth and nothing came out of it. Her name's Emma, Logan said. She's 7. She's got a box. You want to know what's in the box? No, Denhoff said. Yes, Monique Delacroix said. And the whole room turned. Denhoff's face did something very small and very final. Logan said. Can you bring me the box? Emma slid off the chair and walked the length of a $42,000 table, holding a shoebox with a blue lid, past 11 people, and handed it to her father, and then stood beside him with her hand fisted in the back of his jacket. She writes things down, Logan said. When something happens that she decides matters. 1 line. That's it. That's the whole system. She made it up when she was 5. He didn't open it. He put his hand flat on the lid. She's got 411 of them in here. Charlotte's head came up. Yeah, Logan said, watching her. I counted this morning. I counted them in the truck outside of school. 411. Nobody breathed. That's your head count, Logan said. That's the number in the deck. 411. It's the same number. He shook his head slowly. That's not a metaphor. That's not a... I'm not doing a thing that's just what it is. My daughter's whole life is the same number as your line item. And I sat there this morning and I thought, which one of these do you people think is real? Mr. Carter, Denhoff started. Emma, Logan said. Take one out. Anyone. She reached in without looking and pulled out a scrap of paper. Read it. She squinted. Daddy came home and I bit his lip. Split his lip, Logan said. It says bit. You wrote bit. I was 6. Bill Hale laughed out loud. He couldn't help it. He put his hand over his mouth immediately. Another one, Logan said. She pulled another. Rain, and we stayed out. Another. Mrs. P let me stir. Another. She reached deeper. She read this one silently first, and her face changed, and Logan saw it change and said, You don't have to. I couldn't hear the movie, and I didn't say, Emma read. The room went absolutely still. When'd you write that baby? Logan said. His voice had gone strange. I don't know. A long time. Okay. Is that bad? No, Logan said. No, that's not bad. Go sit down. She went and sat down. Logan stood there with his hand on a shoebox. That's the file, he said quietly. That's the real one. You've got a file on her downstairs. It says pending program review, March 14th. It's got a case number. It's got a name in the authorized by field. He looked up. That's not her file. This is her file. And I understand that you people can't run a company off a shoebox. I do. I'm not stupid, and I'm not asking you to be stupid. But I've been listening to how you talk for about 9 minutes now, and I want to tell you something, as a guy who spent 22 years in an organization that does the exact same thing. Which is what Denhoff said. You've got a word for everything, so you don't have to say the thing, Logan said. Structural realignment. Pending program review. Consolidation. We do it too. We say kinetic event. We say combat ineffective. We say a whole lot of things, so we don't have to say a 19-year-old kid from Bakersfield bled out on a deck, and I called his mother, and she made a noise I still hear at 3 in the morning. He nodded slowly. And I understand why we do it. You can't function if every word's the true word. You'd stop. Nothing would ever get done. He looked around the table. But somebody's got to say the true word once, he said. Once. At the end. Before you vote. Somebody's got to say it out loud so it's in the room. And what's the true word, Mr. Carter? Monique Delacroix said. Logan looked at her. My daughter has been going deaf for 2 years, and she didn't tell me, he said, because I was on a boat, because your company gave me a job that let me be home half the year instead of none of it, and now your company's got her hearing in a folder marked pending, and I've had 2 days to think about it, and I still can't get my head around the fact that the same signature did both. He picked up the shoebox. That's the true word, he said. That's it. Vote however you want. And he walked back to the wall and sat down next to his daughter in a blue chair and put the box in his lap. Nobody spoke for a long time. Then Denhoff said, "Well, that was moving, and I want the record to show I said that." He straightened his folder. And it changes nothing about $140 million in exposure. It's not 140, Devesh said. Denhoff turned. It's 96, Devesh said. The 140 number in the deck runs the carve-out at 2021 utilization. Actual utilization's been running 29% under projection for 3 years because... He stopped. Because they don't use it. Say that again, Charlotte said. They don't use it, Charlotte. Devesh's voice had gone hoarse. I ran it at 4 this morning and I sat there for 10 minutes because I thought I'd made an error. 411 guys with a platinum carve-out, and they use it at 71% of a normal population. They don't go to the doctor. They don't file. He looked at Logan. Why don't you file? Logan didn't answer for a second. Because you don't, he said. That's not an answer. It's the only one there is. Logan shrugged. You get hurt, you walk it off, because if you go on sick call, you're off the roster, and if you're off the roster, somebody else does your job, and if somebody else does your job... He stopped. You just don't. 20 years of it. You don't unlearn it because somebody hands you an insurance card. So the program's cheap, Bill Hale said. That's what you're telling me. The most expensive program in the company is underrunning by 29% because these men are too damn stubborn to use it. Yes, Devesh said. Then what the hell are we voting on? Bill, Denhoff started. No, I'd like an answer. Hale turned. Marcus, you brought me a deck that said 140. The number's 96. Did you know? The deck was prepared by... Did you know? I'm not an actuary, Bill. Neither am I, Hale said. I'm a guy who's been signing things for 50 years, and I've learned that when a number in a deck is $44 million off in the direction that helps the guy who wrote it, that's not usually an accident. That's an accusation. That's an observation. Hale sat back. I'm voting no on 14. Bill. Marcus, that's 4 of 11, and you know it and I know it. So save your breath, and let's get to the part where Monique tells us what she's doing. Everyone turned. Monique Delacroix had not moved in 10 minutes. She was looking at Emma. Mr. Carter, she said. Logan looked up. May I ask your daughter a question? Logan's whole body went rigid. Charlotte saw it, saw him weigh it, saw the entire calculation cross his face in about a second and a half, saw him decide. You can ask her one, he said, and if I don't like it, I'm going to say so, ma'am, and I don't care whose table it is. That's fair? Monique turned in her chair. Emma. Emma looked at her father first. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. When your father told you he was bringing you here, did he tell you what to say? Monique, Charlotte said sharply. It's a fair question, Denhoff said. It's a fair question, Monique agreed. And I'm the vote, so I'm asking it. Logan didn't move. Emma thought about it. He said I could be as loud as I want, she said. That's not what I asked. I know. Emma's chin came up and every single person in the room saw whose chin it was. He didn't tell me to say anything. He told me to sit in a chair. He got the chair color wrong. Bill Hale made the noise into his coffee again. Do you know what we're doing here, Emma? Monique said. You're voting on my dad. On his job. Same thing, Emma said. Monique blinked. Why is it the same thing? Because his job is why he's home, Emma said, like she was explaining something to a slow adult, which she was. Before this job, he was on the boat, and he wasn't home 406 days. Now he's home, and he does the bus. If you take the job, he goes back on the boat. That's not a different thing. That's the same thing. And you'd rather he was home. I'd rather he was home. Even though it cost him... Monique stopped herself. Cost him what? Emma said. Nobody answered. Cost him what? Emma said, and her voice had gone up, and Logan reached over and put his hand on her back. It's okay. No cost him what? She was looking around at 11 faces. What did it cost him? Nobody's saying it. Everybody keeps not saying it. Em, you always do this. She wasn't crying. She was furious, which was worse. Everybody talks in the front of their mouth and I can't... She stopped dead. The whole room heard the shape of what she'd almost said. Emma sat back down. I can't always get it, she said small. Charlotte Whitmore closed her eyes. Emma, Monique Delacroix said, and her voice had changed completely. It cost him a promotion. Monique, Denhoff said. He was on track to be a captain in the United States Navy, Monique said, and he turned it down to take a job at this company because of a bus stop. Emma turned and looked at her father. Logan was looking at the floor. Is that true? She said. Em? Is that true? It's not. Logan's voice caught. It's more complicated than... Dad. Logan Carter put his hand over his face. Yeah, he said. It's true. And Emma Carter, 7 years old, in a $900 chair, said the sentence that ended Marcus Denhoff's career. Then put it in the box, she said. Logan lifted his head. What? Put it in the box. She was already digging in her pocket for the pencil she carried everywhere, and she pulled out a scrap of paper. She had scraps of paper on her person. She had them at all times. That was the level of commitment this child had, and she shoved it and the pencil at him. That's what it's for. If it matters, it goes in. Write it. Em, you said the box is for things that matter. Baby. Write it, Emma said. And Logan Carter, in front of 11 of the wealthiest people in America, took a pencil from his daughter and wrote one line on a scrap of paper and put it in a shoebox. Bill Hale took his glasses off. Monique Delacroix put a hand over her mouth. And Charlotte Whitmore, CEO, $11 billion. 22 years, never once not at her father's funeral. Not one single time put her head down on a $42,000 table and wept. It lasted about 9 seconds. Then she sat up and wiped her face with the heel of her hand and said in a voice that had nothing in it at all, Devesh, call the vote. Charlotte, Denhoff said. Call it. You're not going to like it. Call the vote, Devesh. Item 14, Devesh said. Structural realignment of legacy placement programs. All in favor. Marcus Denhoff raised his hand. 2 more went up. A 4th slower, and then nothing. Marcus, said the man on his right quietly. I'm sorry. You committed. I did. You committed Alan. Marcus, there's a child in the room, Alan said. I'm not doing it in front of the child. Denhoff turned white. That is exactly the manipulation I... Yeah, Bill Hale said. It sure is. Isn't it something? 4 in favor. Devesh said. Opposed. Charlotte's hand went up. Bill Hales, Okonkwo, Reyes, 4. Ms. Delacroix, Devesh said. You're the 10th. Bill's all ready, that's 4 and 4 with Charlotte 4 in favor. Ms. Delacroix, you decide it. Monique Delacroix sat there for 11 seconds. Charlotte counted every one of them. Opposed, Monique said. Denhoff shot to his feet. Sit down, Marcus, Bill Hale said. This is a farce. Item 14 fails, Devesh said. 5-4. You brought a child into a fiduciary. Marcus? Charlotte hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't moved. Sit down, or I'll move item 15. Denhoff stopped. What's item 15? He said. There isn't one, Charlotte said. There's going to be. It's going to be about Ashworth Sperry Holdings and a paralegal who repaginated a document on March 6th, and I'm going to move it at the special session I'm calling for Thursday. And Marcus? She finally looked at him. I have 4 days and $11 billion, and I have never in my life had a reason before. Marcus Denhoff picked up his folder. The photograph was still in it. He looked at it for a second, at his own best card, at the thing he'd driven 4 hours to hand her, at a picture of a woman's hand on a man's wrist that was supposed to end her. He put it back in the folder. He walked out. Nobody said anything for a while. Then Emma Carter from a blue chair by the wall said, Did we win? And Bill Hale, 74 years old, 50 years of boardrooms, said, Yeah, honey, you won. Can I put it in the box, sweetheart? Hale said, I'll buy you a bigger box. Charlotte found them in the lobby 20 minutes later. Emma was lying on her stomach on a bench with the shoebox open sorting. Don't lose any, Logan said. I'm not losing any, I'm organizing. That's what people say before they lose things. That's what you say before you lose things. Logan looked up and saw Charlotte and stood. Neither of them said anything for a second. Devesh unfroze the plan at 11:40, Charlotte said. All 411. There's an audiologist in Norfolk who's expecting a call today, and a pediatric team at Hopkins who's expecting one tomorrow, and before you say a word, that's not a favor. That's not special. That's what she was owed on March 14th, and it's 4 months late, and I'm not going to stand here and let you thank me for returning something I took. Logan's jaw worked. I wasn't going to thank you. Good. I was going to ask you something else. Charlotte waited. Why'd you cry? Logan said. Charlotte didn't answer. Ma'am, I watched you sit through a man calling you a fraud in your own building, and you didn't blink. I watched you take apart a guy you put on that board yourself, and your hands were steadier than mine. And then my kid told me to write something on a piece of paper, and you put your head down on the table. He shook his head. So, why'd you cry? Charlotte looked at the shoebox. Because nobody ever told my father to put it in the box, she said. Logan didn't say anything. He came to a science fair for 19 minutes when I was 11, and I have carried it for 32 years, Charlotte said, and it never occurred to me, not once, not in 3 decades, that I could have just said so. That I could have handed him a pencil, that it was allowed. Her voice was absolutely level. She's 7, and she made you write it down, in front of 11 people, and you did. Yeah. You did, Logan. Yeah. He wouldn't have, Charlotte said, and she turned and walked out before he could see her face do anything else. She got about 11 steps. Ma'am? Charlotte didn't stop. Charlotte. She stopped. She stood there with her back to him in the middle of her own lobby, and she did not turn around because she had spent 43 years building a face, and it had come apart twice in one morning, and she did not trust it with a third. That's not fair, she said. What isn't? Using my name. You've called me ma'am for 3 days like it was a wall, and now you want to take the wall down because it's convenient for you. It wasn't a wall. It was absolutely a wall. It was a rank, Logan said. That's different. A wall's something you build. A rank's something somebody hands you, and you carry it whether you want it or not. He was still holding the shoebox. You've been carrying yours since you were 11. Charlotte turned around. Don't, she said. Okay. I mean it. Don't do the thing where you say something true about me in a lobby. I've had it done to me twice today, and I'm at capacity. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Logan shrugged. I'm not going to wrestle you, ma'am. I've got one kid, and I don't need two. Charlotte stared at him, and then she laughed one syllable, ugly, surprised out of her, and put her hand over her mouth like she'd sworn in church. That was terrible, she said. It was a little terrible. That was nobody has said anything like that to me in 20 years. Yeah, well, Logan said. You keep saying that. About everything. Nobody's said that to me. Nobody's asked me that. You know that's not a compliment to me, right? That's not, ma'am. That's an indictment of about 4,000 people. Charlotte's mouth opened. That's the whole thing, Logan said. That's what I couldn't sleep on last night. It's not that I'm special. I'm a guy with a truck. It's that the bar is on the floor, and you've spent your whole life stepping over it and calling it a mountain. Mr. Carter. Emma? Logan said. Lid on. We're going. I'm not done. Lid on. You're gonna make me lose one. I'm gonna make you not lose one, which is the opposite. Dad. Charlotte watched them for a second. The whole ridiculous machinery of it. A man arguing with a child about a shoebox in the lobby of a building with his employer's name on the wall 40 minutes after the same child had ended a board member's career. Logan, she said. He looked up. Thursday, Charlotte said. The special session. I need... No. You don't know what I was going to ask. You were going to ask me to be there, Logan said. And the answer's no. I'll do it once. I did it once. I stood in that room, and I held my kid up like a piece of paper, and I'm going to feel it in my chest for the rest of my life, exactly like you said I would, and I'm not doing it twice. He put the lid on the box himself. You want to take Denhoff apart? Take him apart. You don't need me. You never needed me. You needed the room to look at somebody, and I was the somebody, and it's done, and I'm going home. Charlotte didn't argue. That, more than anything else, was the thing Logan thought about later. She didn't argue. She didn't push. She just stood there in a $4,000 coat and nodded once and said, Okay. Okay. You said no, Charlotte said. I asked twice. That's my limit. That's a stupid rule. I know, she said. You told me. Betob. The audiologist called at 4:15 that afternoon. Logan was in the truck outside a grocery store with a list on the seat, and he took the call in the parking lot and listened for 9 minutes and said, Yes, ma'am, 4 times, and I understand, twice, and then hung up and sat there. Then he called Ryan. Ryan picked up on the second ring in Cabo on his honeymoon at 4 in the afternoon. Tell me it's good news. You knew, Logan said. The line was quiet for a long time. Yeah, Ryan said. Since March. Since March. You met me at the pier. I met you at the pier. Logan put his head back against the seat. Say something, Ryan said. Brother, say something. I've been waiting 4 months for you to say something, and I've imagined about 900 versions of it, and every single one is better than this. How's Cabo? Logan. I'm asking how Cabo is. Cabo's fine. Cabo's Logan, come on. Because you're on your honeymoon, Logan said. And I've got a thing I want to say, and I don't want to say it to a man on his honeymoon, so I'm asking about Cabo. Say the thing. Ryan. Say the thing. I've been sick for 4 months. I gave a toast about you with it in my mouth. Say the thing. Logan closed his eyes. You should have told me at the pier, he said. I know. She'd have had 4 more months. I know. They said it's progressive. They said it's the word she used was window. There's a window. And you sat on 4 months of it in a glove box. I know. And I'm not going to forgive you today. Ryan's breath came out of him like he'd been hit. Okay, he said. But I'm going to forgive you, Logan said. So don't do anything stupid between now and then. Don't send me a letter. Don't send money. Ryan, I swear to God if you send money, I already sent money. Ryan, I sent it Sunday. Cancel it. You can't cancel a Logan. It's in there. It's $11,000 and it's in your account. And I don't know how to get it back. That's not a thing you can, I'm gonna send it back. Then I'm gonna send it again. Then we're gonna do this forever. Yeah, Ryan said, and his voice broke completely. Yeah, I guess we are. Logan sat in a grocery store parking lot with his hand over his eyes. 9 hours, he said. What? You held pressure on my shoulder for 9 hours, and your hands didn't shake. And I've thought about that maybe 1,000 times in 6 years, and I've never once been able to figure out how you did it. He wiped his face. And now I know. You did it because you're the kind of guy who'd rather bleed himself out than hand somebody a problem. And that's the best thing about you, and it's the worst thing about you, and it's the same thing, Ryan. It's the same thing. The line was quiet. How bad is it? Ryan said. Bilateral, progressive, right ear's worse. They want imaging Thursday, and they're talking about a device on the right and a hearing aid on the left, and the lady kept using the word candidate, which I've learned means, we're not telling you yet. He breathed. She's gonna be okay. That's what I keep, she's gonna be okay. People do this. There's kids all over this country doing this. Yeah. She's gonna be okay. Logan. What? You're allowed to not be okay about it, Ryan said. Just for like an hour. You're allowed. Logan Carter sat in his truck in a grocery store parking lot in Norfolk, Virginia, and took the hour. Monday. Thursday's special session lasted 51 minutes. Logan wasn't there. He was at Hopkins in a hallway holding a jacket while a 7-year-old lay very still inside a machine and did not cry because she had never once in her life cried at the correct time. He found out about it that night from Bill Hale, who called him personally, which Logan did not understand and never would. Son, I got your number off a form, and I'm too old to feel bad about it. Mr. Hale. Bill. Bill. He's gone, Hale said. Denhoff. Resigned at 10:40 this morning, and I want you to know he resigned instead of getting voted out because she gave him the door on purpose. Logan frowned. Why? That's exactly what I asked her. And she said, Hale laughed a dry, delighted 74-year-old laugh. She said, Bill the man's got a daughter too. Logan didn't say anything. Now I've known that woman 11 years, Hale said, and I want you to understand something. That sentence has never once come out of her. Not in 11 years. She fired a fella in 2019 for being 9 minutes late, and when I asked her about it, she said, and I quote, he's a rounding error. That's who she is. That's who she's been. He paused. So whatever the hell happened in that room Monday, son, I've been sitting with it all week, and I want you to know that at 74 years old, I have not been surprised by a human being in about a decade, and I got surprised twice in one morning. Twice. Once by her, Hale said, and once by a little girl who told her daddy to write it down. Logan closed his eyes. How is she? Hale said. Scans went okay. They think they're saying the right side's a candidate. That's good. That's good. Then that's good, Hale said. Now listen to me, because I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to hang up like a coward. That woman is going to call you. Maybe not this week. Maybe not this month. And when she does, you're going to do the thing you do, where you say something honest and reasonable and true, and it lands on her like a bus, and she's going to say something cold and walk out of the room. And you're going to think that means no. Logan didn't answer. It doesn't mean no, Bill Hale said. It means she's never been handed the pencil. And he hung up like a coward. 10. She didn't call for 6 weeks. Logan told himself he wasn't counting, which was a lie, because he counted everything, because that was the entire problem with him. 6 weeks. 43 days. She didn't call, and he didn't call, and the company sent letters instead. Actual letters on paper with the logo. And the letters said things like reinstated and retroactive, and no action required. And Anchor did not get consolidated into Tampa. And 411 men found out in a group email that a thing they hadn't known was in danger was no longer in danger, and about 9 of them wrote back to ask what it meant. Emma got the surgery on a Tuesday in September. She wrote it down before she went in. She made him hold the box in the waiting room. He held it for 4 hours and 14 minutes, and on the 3rd of October, in an audiologist's office, with a laptop and a cable, and a woman named Dr. Amara Osei, who had been doing this for 19 years and still cried at maybe 1 in 50. They turned it on. Okay, Emma, this is going to sound strange. Strange how? Like a robot. Like a bad robot. Like the worst robot you've ever heard. And your brain's going to be very confused for a while. And that's normal, and it doesn't mean it's broken. How long's a while? Months. 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 Dr. Osei said. You're going to hate it for a while. I want to be honest with you, because you strike me as a person who likes to be told the truth. Emma looked at her father. She likes to be told the truth, Logan said. Okay, Emma said. Dr. Osei clicked. Emma's whole body jumped. Whoa! Too loud. Her face was doing about 9 things. It's buzzy. Why is it buzzy? Because it's a robot. You said it'd be a bad robot. That's an awful robot. Dr. Osei laughed. Emma, can you look at your dad, please? Emma looked at him. And Logan Carter, who had rehearsed this in his truck about 200 times, who had a list of things in his phone, who had thought very hard about the first thing his daughter should hear, forgot every single one of them. Hey, baby, he said. Emma's face didn't move for a second. Then it crumpled. That's you. That's me. That's you. Yeah. It doesn't sound like... She was crying now and furious about it, wiping at her face with both fists. It doesn't sound like you. It sounds like a robot. Why does it sound like a robot? It's gonna get better. You said it'd sound like you. I never said that. You thought it. Yeah, Logan said. I did. I thought it real hard. And Emma Carter, 7 years old, 31 days post-op, threw herself at her father's chest in a beige office in Norfolk, Virginia, and pressed her ear flat against him. Flat hard, the way she'd done her whole life, the way he'd thought was love, and had turned out to be work, and said into his shirt, Say it again. Say what? The thing. Say the thing again. Hey, baby, Logan said. Again. Hey, baby. Again. He said it about 40 times. Dr. Osei went and got a tissue and came back. He wrote it down in the parking lot. It took him 4 tries. He kept starting and stopping. Emma was in the back seat with the box in her lap, watching him do it, which made it worse. What's taking so long? I'm thinking. It's 1 line. I know it's 1 line. It's supposed to be 1 line that's the whole. I've written maybe 6 of these in my life, and you've written 411, so give me a minute. 12. What? 412, Emma said. You wrote 1 at the table place. Logan looked up. You counted it. Obviously, Emma said in a voice of such profound exhaustion, with the stupidity of adults, that Logan had to put his head on the steering wheel. He wrote it. Emma heard me and said I sounded like a robot. He handed it back. She read it. She frowned. That's not the important part. That's the important part. The important part is I heard you. That's what it says. It says robot. You put the funny part in and you left the real part out, Emma said. You always do that. Logan sat very still in the front seat of a truck with 194,000 miles on it. Yeah, he said. I do, don't I? Yeah. Give it back. She gave it back. He crossed out robot. He wrote something under it. He handed it back, and she read it, and didn't say anything at all, and she put it in the box, and she put the lid on, and she looked out the window the entire drive home. Charlotte called on the 9th of October at 9:40 at night. Is this a bad time? It's fine. It's 9:40. She's asleep. It's fine. Logan sat down on the arm of his couch. It's been 6 weeks. 43 days. He stopped. You counted, he said. I count things, Charlotte said. Neither of them said anything for a second. Devesh told me about the third, she said. The activation. He gets there's a report. It's not personal. It's an aggregate. It just says the procedure completed. I want you to know I didn't look at anything I wasn't allowed to look at. I want that on the record. You've got a record? I have had a record for 6 weeks, Charlotte said. I've been keeping a record of every single thing I have not done. It is an extremely long list, and I would like to read it to you sometime because I think it is the most impressive thing I have ever accomplished. Logan laughed. How is she? Charlotte said. She says I sound like a robot. You do sound like a robot. That's what she said. Well, she's right. A pause. Logan. Why'd you wait 6 weeks? Charlotte didn't answer. That's not a trap, Logan said. I'm asking, because I've got a theory, and it's been sitting in my chest for 43 days, and I'd rather be wrong out loud than right in my head. Say the theory. You waited 6 weeks so that when you called there wasn't a single thing on the table, Logan said. No item 14, no referral, no portal, no job. You waited until there was nothing you could give me, and nothing you could take, so that if I picked up the phone, it'd be because I wanted to. The line was quiet for a very long time. Yes, Charlotte said. Ma'am, don't. Charlotte, don't do it in a phone call either, she said, and her voice was doing that thing, the hairline thing, the fracture. She always hammered flat before it could spread. You've got a habit of saying a true thing and then just leaving it there. You leave it on the table like a rock and you don't clean it up. Do you know what that does to a person? No. It's unbearable. Okay. It is genuinely unbearable, Logan. She stopped. She breathed. I've thought about a shoebox every day for 6 weeks. Every day. I'm in a room with the Rotterdam people, and I'm thinking about a shoebox. I fired a man in September properly. Deservedly, he'd been stealing, and I got to the end of it, and I thought, nobody's ever going to tell him to put it in the box. And I had to leave my own office. Charlotte. I'm 43 years old. I know. I'm 43 years old, and I have $11 billion, and I found out in a boardroom in July that I've been dead since I was 11, Charlotte said. That's what she did. Your kid. She reached into my chest and turned the light on, and it turns out it's been dark in here. Logan, it's been dark the entire time, and I've been telling conferences that I don't do sentiment, I do arithmetic. Charlotte? What? Come to dinner. Silence. What? Come to dinner, Logan said. Saturday. My house. It's not Charlotte. Listen to me, it's not a nice house. I want to be extremely clear about the house. There's a hole in the drywall in the hallway from a thing with a lacrosse stick that I'm not going to explain. The oven's got one setting, and the setting is eventually. Mrs. Petrov's gonna be there and she's gonna interrogate you, and I'm not going to stop her because she'd do it anyway, and I've learned to conserve my energy. Logan. There's no table, he said. That's the point I'm making. There's a table, but it's not a table. It costs $90 and one leg's a book. What book? Moby Dick. Charlotte Whitmore made a sound on the phone that she would deny for the rest of her life. Saturday, she said. Saturday. Logan, if I come to your house... I know. No, you don't know because you've never been anybody's... She stopped. If I come to your house, it'll be in a car with a driver named Anton, whose children's names I learned 4 months ago, and there'll be a photographer within about 6 weeks, and there will be a headline, and your daughter will be in it. Not me. Her. They'll put her in it. That's what they do. Logan was quiet. That's the actual cost, Charlotte said. That's not me being dramatic. I need you to run the arithmetic before you say Saturday again, because you're the only person I've ever met who actually runs it. And if you run it and the answer's no, I will hang up this phone and I will never call you again, and I won't hold 1 single second of it against you. I mean that. That's not a play. I know it's not. Then run it. I ran it in July, Logan said. Charlotte stopped breathing. I ran it in a parking lot in Norfolk about 9 minutes after you told me you needed me in a room, and you didn't have a speech for me, he said. I ran the whole thing. And here's what I got. My kid's gonna have a machine in her head for the rest of her life, and there's gonna be a day. I don't know when, might be 11, might be 14, where somebody says something to her about it, and she's gonna come home, and she's gonna need to know that people look at you and it doesn't kill you. Logan. So who's she gonna learn that from me? He laughed. Charlotte, I've been standing in doorways my whole life. Ryan told me that at the wedding, and I told him I liked doorways. I've got nothing to teach her about being looked at. I've spent 22 years making sure nobody ever looked at me. That's the entire skill set. Charlotte's hand was over her mouth. You walked across a ballroom, Logan said. 300 people. You threw a glass, and you walked across the whole room and grabbed me by the wrist and said it out loud, and there was a camera, and you didn't care. I cared. You did it anyway. That's not Logan. That wasn't courage, that was. I don't even know what that was. I've replayed it 4,000 times. I have never done anything like that in my life. I know, Logan said. That's why I want her to see it. The line went completely silent. That's the arithmetic, he said. That's the whole thing. There's a headline, and there's a photographer, and there's my kid in a picture she didn't ask to be in. And on the other side, there's a woman who did the bravest thing I ever saw a person do, in a room where everybody was watching over nothing, over a guy in a bad suit she'd known for 2 hours. He breathed. And she's 7. And she's going to get looked at for the rest of her life. And I'd rather she learned it from you than from me, because, ma'am, I'd teach her the doorway. Charlotte Whitmore stood in a penthouse she'd bought with her own money at the age of 34 and cried for the second time in 22 years. And it lasted about 9 seconds. And then she said, "What do I bring?" "Nothing." "That's not an answer. That's an Logan." "What do I bring?" "I've never." Charlotte. I have been to 400 dinners, and every single one of them I brought something that cost $800, and I don't know how to not. "Bring a pencil," Logan said. Mrs. Petrov interrogated her for 50 minutes. She started with the coat. She moved to the car. She spent a genuinely alarming amount of time on the subject of Charlotte's mother, about whom Charlotte had said approximately 11 words in the last decade, and about whom she said that night in a kitchen standing up holding a dish towel, roughly 900. She left, Mrs. Petrov said. She didn't leave. She stayed. That's the... Charlotte stopped. She stayed, and she was very kind, and she was in the other room for 18 years. Ah, Mrs. Petrov said. Worse. Worse? Much worse. Leaving you can be angry. Angry is useful. She took the towel out of Charlotte's hands. This one you cannot be angry, so it sits. Charlotte stared at her. Where are you from? She said. Nowhere that is still there, Mrs. Petrov said, and put a plate in her hands. Emma spent the entire dinner talking. Not to Charlotte, at her, a non-stop hydraulic pressure of information about a girl named Priya. A substitute teacher who was bad at reading, allowed the specific injustice of a boy named Tyler, who had said the thing about the processor and what she had said back to him, which had gotten her a note home, which she had earned, she said, and would say again. Logan put his fork down. What did you say back to him? You already know. I read the note. I want to hear it from you. I said I could turn him off, Emma said. Charlotte laughed so hard she had to put her hand on the table. The table wobbled. Charlotte looked down. Moby Dick. Oh my God, she said. It's really... I told you. It's actually... I don't lie about furniture, Logan said. And Charlotte Whitmore sat at a $90 table with one leg on Herman Melville, in a house with a hole in the hallway drywall, eating something Mrs. Petrov had made that had rice in it and understood completely with the total clarity of a woman who had spent 22 years being right about numbers that she had never once been at dinner before in her entire life. The photograph ran on the 22nd of November. It was Emma at a bus stop. Charlotte saw it at 6:04 in the morning and put her phone face down on a marble counter and stood there with both hands flat on the stone and made a sound that Anton 3 floors down did not hear. She called at 6:06. He picked up on the first ring. "I saw it," Logan said. "Logan, I will burn that outlet to the ground. I will spend $40 million. I will, Charlotte." They put her at a bus stop, Logan. They put a 7-year-old at a... She's 8. Charlotte stopped. "Since Tuesday," Logan said. "You didn't tell me it was her birthday." "You were in Rotterdam." "Logan?" "Charlotte, listen to me." His voice was very calm, and she hated it, and she loved it, and it was the reason she'd been able to sleep for 4 months. "She's seen it. She saw it before I did because she gets up before me now because she can hear the alarm, which is a whole thing I'm not going to get into." Charlotte closed her eyes. "What did she say?" she whispered. "She asked if she could have a copy." She wants a copy," Logan said. "For the box. She says it's the first time she's ever been in a newspaper, and it goes in." Charlotte Whitmore put her head down on a marble counter in a penthouse in Manhattan. "She's not you," Logan said quietly. "That's what I've been trying to tell you for 4 months. You keep looking at her and seeing an 11-year-old at a science fair. She's not. She's got a box, and she's got a Ukrainian grandmother who isn't her grandmother, and she's got a father who is there. And when somebody puts her in a newspaper, her first instinct isn't to hide, it's to file it." He breathed. "You didn't do that to her, Charlotte. You didn't damage her. You're not your dad. You've been waiting 4 months for me to tell you you're your dad, and I'm not gonna because you're not." Charlotte cried on the phone. She let him hear it. That was the thing. That was the whole distance she had traveled between July and November. She let him hear it. She didn't fix it. She didn't hammer it flat. "I want to be there," she said. "Then be there." "I mean, I want to be there, Logan. I'm not asking you for a..." "Charlotte, I don't know how to ask for it. That's the problem. I've asked for $11 billion, and I don't know how to ask for a Tuesday." "Then don't ask," Logan said. "Show up." A year after the wedding, they went back to the estate. Ryan's idea. Anniversary. He rented the whole thing back for an afternoon, the same ballroom, the same marble, and he did it with money he did not have, and told everyone it was a bargain, which was a lie. Emma found the spot first. "Right here. Right about there," Logan said. "Where the glass went. Where the glass went." "Was it loud?" It was the loudest thing I ever heard indoors. Louder than the..." "Yes. You don't know what I was gonna say." "It's louder than that too," Logan said. She ran off to find Ryan, who had promised her cake, and who had for a year now been paying a debt in the currency of cake. Charlotte stood in the doorway. "You're standing in a doorway," Logan said. "I'm aware. That's my thing. I'm borrowing it." He came and stood next to her. "You want to know something stupid?" Charlotte said. "Always. I've thought about this room every day for a year. Every single day. And I always think about the same 9 seconds. Not the glass. I think about the part where you took your wrist back." She was looking out at 300 empty chairs. "You did it so gently. You could have ripped it away. You had every right. And you just took it back. Like you were taking back something that was never yours to be held by." "I remember. That's the worst thing that's ever happened to me," Charlotte said. Logan looked at her. "It is," she said. "I've been through a hostile takeover. I buried my father. I've had 400 people's livelihoods in a spreadsheet. And the worst thing that has ever happened to me is a man in a bad suit taking his wrist back gently, and I've never told anyone that, and I'm telling you in a doorway." Logan didn't say anything for a while. Then he said, "You want to know what I think about..." "What?" "The 19 minutes, he said. Charlotte turned her head. "That's what I think about," Logan said. "Every day. Your dad and the science fair. Because I've got a kid, and I've got 406 days I'm never getting back, and I've spent a year trying to figure out how not to be a man who gives somebody 19 minutes and takes their whole life." He shook his head. "And I couldn't get it. For a year. And then about 3 weeks ago I got it." "Got what?" "He gave you 19 minutes because he thought love was an event," Logan said. "That's all. That's the whole thing. He thought it was something you show up and do magnificently, and then leave. 4 seconds, and a standing ovation." He looked at her. "It's not an event, Charlotte. It's a frequency." Charlotte stopped breathing. "That's all it is," he said. "It's a bus at 7:15. It's the rice thing. It's a hole in the drywall you don't fix because the story's better than the wall. It's the same small stupid thing over and over for so long that it stops being a thing you do and starts being a thing you are." He shrugged. "That's the arithmetic. That's the only one that ever mattered. And I got it wrong for 6 years too, ma'am, so don't look at me like that. I thought it was the 4 seconds. I thought if I did the 4 seconds hard enough, it'd cover the 406 days. It doesn't. It doesn't." Across the ballroom, Emma Carter shrieked at something. There was cake involved. Ryan Mitchell was laughing so hard he'd stopped moving. "She's going to ask me," Charlotte said. "Yeah. She asked me in the car, on the way here." Logan turned. "She what?" "She asked me if I was going to stay," Charlotte said. Logan couldn't speak. "And I want you to know," Charlotte said, "that I have been asked that question by 3 men in my life, and every single time I said something clever, because clever is what you say when you don't have an answer. And I looked at your daughter in the back of a car, and I couldn't get a single clever thing out. Not one. My whole life fell out of my head." "What'd you say?" Charlotte's mouth was trembling. "I said yes," she said. "If your father lets me." And Logan Carter, who had been shot at and burned and left on a Thursday, and who had spent 6 years standing in the back of rooms watching other people believe things, reached over and took her hand. Not the wrist, the hand. "Charlotte," he said, "you've been asking permission for a year." "I know. You don't need it. You never needed it. You've had it since about 11:40 on a Saturday night when I looked at a screen and saw your name on my daughter's file, and it ruined me. And I sat in a hallway for 11 minutes, and you want to know what I actually thought about?" His voice cracked. "Not the file. I thought about her. I thought the one good hour I've had in 6 years, and it's gone. That's what I mourned. That's what I sat in the dark and mourned. A stranger in a gray dress who asked me what my daughter was like. Logan. So don't ask if I'll let you." He was gripping her hand hard enough to hurt, and she was gripping back. "Ask me if I'll show up. That's the only question. That's the only question anybody's ever really asking, and nobody's got the guts to say it." Charlotte Whitmore looked at him. "Will you show up?" she said. "Every day," Logan said. "For the rest of my life, at 7:15. And then a 7-year and 8-year-old girl with a scar behind her right ear and frosting on both hands came running across a marble ballroom straight through the exact spot where a billionaire had once thrown a glass and torn her whole world open and slammed into both of them at once and did not let go." "You're doing the doorway thing," Emma said. "We're not doing the doorway thing," Logan said. "You're both doing it. You're both just standing here." "There's cake," Emma said in the voice of a person delivering the most urgent news of her life. "There's cake, and you always leave before the cake, and Ryan said he said you always leave before the—" "I'm not leaving," Logan said. Emma stopped. She looked up at him. She looked up at Charlotte. And then she dug into her pocket and pulled out a scrap of paper and a pencil, because she had them on her person at all times, because that was the level of commitment this child had, and she shoved them at her father's chest. "Then put it in the box," she said. He wrote it standing up in a doorway with his daughter's fist in the back of his jacket, and a woman worth $11 billion holding his other hand and reading over his shoulder without pretending she wasn't. It said Dad stayed for the cake. Charlotte laughed, and it came apart in the middle. "That's not the real part," she said. Logan looked at her, and then he crossed it out, and he wrote the true word underneath the way an 8-year-old had taught him to. And he folded it once and handed it to his daughter, and she put it in the blue-lidded box where it belonged. It said, "We stayed." Because in the end, the person who changes your life is never the one who arrives like weather and vanishes like weather. It's the one who is simply stubbornly, unglamorously there on the 400th morning at the bus stop in the rain, when nobody is clapping and nobody is watching, and there is nothing left to win. Love is not the 4 seconds. Love is the 20 years of showing up. And Logan Carter showed up.